permanent. The only one that was going on is brows. So that's when I really became interested in brows. And what I found out was so interesting because it was not tattoo. Yeah, it was a way in which brows can look natural and last longer. So that's why I became really interested in brows only first.
Okay, so that's microblading. Okay, so in what year did you start Brow Revamp?
It started very well, like exactly on 2015.
Can you take me through the process of microblading? What does it mean and what does it look like?
Microblading is a form of micropigmentation. Where micropigmentation is where you implant pigments under the skin in various styles, microblading being one of them, and there are also other 2 styles.
It's not a tattoo.
No.
But you're inserting pigment under the skin.
Yes. The technique relates.
Okay.
But what we use is not the same. And the specific period also differs. So you find in a tattoo, the machines used, they are longer needles. Micro shading needles are very small needles. So they go as deep as the upper layer of the skin only, unlike the gun, which goes to both layers of the skin. And that's why tattoo never fades, because both layers do not degenerate, only the first layer regenerates. That's one difference. Another one is the inks they use. Tattoos use a combination, a blend of colorants, as we use a pure form of ink which is diluted to match hair, the hair color.
That's what microblading is. What does the procedure look like?
It's not as bad as people usually portray.
Because you are saying needles.
Yes.
How do you take them through the process?
Okay, so what happens when they come in, we consult. First, I find out their type of skin. Also, I find out if they have what their preference is, because there are 3 micropigmentation styles. There is microblading, and then there is ombre powder, and there is combination brow. I take the client through all of their styles, and then she tells me what she desires more out of them. Yeah, so according to the style she chooses, now we start from there.
So she's chosen the style. She now is lying on the table, on the bed. What then is the next step?
The next step is that we draw the shape together according to her face symmetry.
And what do you use to draw the shape?
Just I use a string to balance the face, to balance the brows and the arcs and the tails. And then I have to make sure the measurements of one brow with the other one is equal.
Because there's nothing worse than like absolutely different. Although they say there's nothing worse than like really crazy different eyebrows, but they do say that brows are not twins, they're sisters.
They're sisters.
So it's okay if one isn't perfectly like the other one.
Well, it's normal. We naturally do not have a symmetrical brow structure, so we try as much to make them as symmetrical as possible.
So how do you know where the art should end, where it should start?
First, we find the center of the face, which is the line straight to your face, straight. Then we find the arc of your brow, which is from the nose straight to the pupil, between the pupil when you're looking forward, and then to the arc.
To the arch. So like there would be my arch.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they tell the same from the nose towards the end corner of the eyes.
Okay.
And then the front part is just straight. Here, then straight.
Oh, here like this?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So then you do that and you measure and you figure out like how you want it to be.
Yes.
And then?
After that, I combine the points. I attach the points with each other. And then from there, now we soften the arcs and everything until the client is comfortable with the shape.
Then comes the needling.
The process.
The process.
After now creating the shape, what we do is we numb. We numb using a cream, not a needle. We do not inject. It's just a cream you apply above the shape you've created. And then you wait for it to numb for 30 minutes for it to absorb to the skin. What it does, it numbs the nerves that sense pain.
So it makes it a little bit more bearable, and in fact,
very
I imagine there's no. Very comfortable. So there's no pain.
There is no pain. Once you're numb, you're good to go.
And then I assume from there you then start the procedure. And how long does it take?
The procedure itself takes 1 hour to 45 minutes. But then when I combine everything, including consultation, I do take a maximum of 3 hours. because brow mapping is a process we really need to be
Yeah.
keen on, because I wouldn't want a client to live with brow she's not satisfied with.
No, that would be the worst.
Yes.
So once it's done, what do you do once you're done with the, the filling in?
The only discomfort a client might face during the procedure is after the procedure, where you'll feel a bit of pain as the numbness fades away.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, you're good to go. Now we start the healing process, which takes a maximum of 7 to 14 days to scab out. What happens in this period is that what we did, it's like we created an injury on the skin, and for that injury to heal, it has to close up. So it creates this layer that we call a scab, the dark layer.
Okay.
So after the procedure, a day or two, the client might notice the brows getting darker by day. That's because of the scab forming. Okay, so
not to worry.
Yeah,
like you're
it's not the
suddenly
pigment
going to be like black brows. Okay.
That's natural, because we hyperpigment as Africans because of melanin. So when you get an injury, it has to form the scab, which is hyperpigmented scab. Yeah. So that takes around, after a day, you'll notice the scab actually forming by them getting darker by day. Yeah. Around the 5th day, the scab will start to detach from the brows, from the other layer of the skin. Yeah. That's flaking. We call it flaking. Okay. And then once they're flaked, all the scab has flaked. Yeah. The layer under looks really very light. That's because it has just been exposed, and it's still healing. So it's a process. The healing process, the process of getting very dark. No, immediately after the procedure, it's very beautiful. Getting very dark, disappearing, and then coming back.
Disappearing, and then coming back. Yes. So there's a period of like panic, but don't panic.
Yes.
Okay, because you know what's going to happen. And is it painful during that process of scabbing?
No. The only pain is the 30 minutes of numbness fading away. After that's you forget about the brows. Yes.
What tips would you have for someone at that stage if they want to still look okay? Is it something that's distracting? If I was looking at you and you're scabbing, would you be like...
No, actually it's more of the client who is aware of what's happening with her own brows, is aware of what's going on. Someone else is they never really notice. They might notice the difference of yesterday you had very dark brows, now 2 days after they have disappeared. Where are they? Maybe that one, but the scabbing, no.
And how long does it now last?
There are 3 techniques of micropigmentation. So the microblading, which is basically creating hair strokes to mimic the brow hairs, so it blends to brow hairs. That lasts up to 18 months, depending on skin type. Yes.
18 months.
18 months.
And you're saying 18 months I will not need to do my eyebrows?
Yes.
Just wake up,
and
you're
go.
good. You dive into a pool, you're still good.
Yes.
Wow.
And then there is a combination. That's a combination of microblading and microshading. Lasts up to 2 years. Yes.
Wow, okay.
And then there is ombre powder, which is a mimic of the normal makeup look brows, like mine. Yeah. That lasts up to 3 years.
So how many years have you had that?
Mine, I've had it for 2 years. Yes.
You've had your eyebrow. I've got to come in close now.
Now this I've added a bit of pencil because I'm pretty oily, so it fades up very fast. Yes. On oily skin, also skin types does really affect how long it will last. So we find the oily skin, they last almost half time of the estimated period of each technique. Yeah.
When you're doing this procedure, are you affecting the natural brows?
No, it's not a traumatizing procedure, so there is no way it can actually affect the hair follicles. The hair growth cycle will continue as normal. The only thing you'll be doing is just grooming the brow hairs out of shape.
Adding a little concealer, stuff like that. So let's talk about the pros and cons. I mean, pros, the main one is that you don't need that entire brow step is eliminated from your makeup routine and saves you time. Are there any other pros that you hear from your customers and clients?
Saving a lot is saving time, and actually that's the main one. And a lot they've been they've been removed a problem that they really didn't know how to take care of. So they are actually really great about it.
And what about cons? What should people be aware of?
This procedure is not safe to a pregnant or breastfeeding person and a diabetic person and someone who has a problem of extreme keloids.
Okay.
Yes, only that.
Keloids means that you scab, you tend to have
you scar when you get a wound, yes. So it's just that. But basically we've never actually received any complaints regarding allergies or medical complications. It's just a very non-invasive treatment that does not alter with the normal functioning of the body.
So who would be the kind of client that walks into your boutique?
Everyone who wants to, everyone who is just tired of doing their brows, everyone who is just wants perfect brows, they all come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that you have to have like imperfect brows or struggling.
No.
You can even have someone who has great brows, but they're just like, listen, I'm tired of like grooming and maintaining and all of that.
Yeah, they all come in.
And enjoy. So after the say 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years, is the procedure of having it redone the same?
Yes. So we actually encourage a client to come back for color boost. When they feel that their color is fading, they can actually come for a boost of the color only. But if the client wants it to fade completely and change the technique, which it's okay as well.
And what are some of the things that would affect the color or make it sort of like start to fade more if you did certain things?
One major thing is lifestyle and skin type. As I said earlier, the oily skin and sensitive skin do not tend to hold very well to pigment for the estimated period. Another thing is lifestyle. If you do a lot of facials, saunas, if you do swimming, those things accelerate the regeneration of the upper layer of the skin. So the more it comes out, the more it fades.
All right, I think that's like microblading 101. But if you have any more questions specific to microblading, just like leave them on Living with S's channel. We'll just like ask Penina over here, like, can you like break it down even further? We've got to take a break, but we'll be back with Penina, and this time we're talking lashes. Founded her company, and I know your initial interest was brows.
Yes.
But at some point you were like, let me explore other things. Can you take me through some of the other things that you've been offering as services at Brow Revamp?
Currently, I'm offering lash extensions, microblading, that's micropigmentation, in eyebrows and eyeliners.
The thing that we just talked about for brows, you do the same for liners.
Yes.
So someone can have like a semi-permanent eyeliner.
Yes, according to their style of eyelining.
You literally are cutting makeup time in half.
Yes.
There's a lot of women who are like, you mean that's an extra 20 minutes that I don't need to spend every day?
Yes.
Okay, so you do the liner, brows, lash extensions.
Yes, only currently.
Okay, got it. So now we're going to get into the world of lash extensions.
Yes.
So what are some of the trends that you've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years that you've been in the industry?
I've noticed a lot of people are getting into ways that they can enhance their natural lashes in thickness and in curlness and in length.
Okay.
So they have actually been using, in Africa mostly people use strip lashes, and the
strip lashes.
Yes.
Which is this.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
your hand model, strip lash, okay.
So strip lashes are basically the normal lashes. They're temporary. They're the one you can put on in the morning and remove at night.
Yeah.
You cannot actually stay with them. They're very temporal.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the cluster lashes. This is basically lash strands which are tied down with a knot.
Tied?
Yes, they're tied down with a knot like this one.
Like what, when you say tied down with a knot?
Down.
Oh, like down there.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant like tied to the lash with a knot.
No.
I was going to be like, Henna, this is like different levels. Okay, so tied
down with that
knot. Okay.
Yes. So what happens with this one, it's applied directly to your eyelid, to your skin eyelid, not on the lashes, but in between the lashes, your natural lashes, directly to the eyelid.
And what does that effect give you?
It just gives you the fullness.
Okay.
Yeah, and the curliness. All of them do give you fullness, curliness, and
length.
The length.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So that's cluster.
Okay.
And then there is the single.
So wait, so these two, I imagine someone can do for themselves.
Yeah, these
home.
two you can actually do it.
Yeah, but I guess
yourself.
with practice,
yes,
you get better.
Yes. This is better to train yourself because it's temporal glue. The glue is not adhesive.
Okay.
And it cannot react to your eyes. But this one, people do it mainly at nail salons or makeup places.
Why?
You have to be placed on because the glue can react to your eyes.
Because it's a different kind of glue.
It's a permanent, semi-permanent glue.
So this isn't the same as single lashes, you know?
No.
Okay.
This one is applied directly to the eyelid, unlike the single eyelash lashes. So there are the others that are called the single individual extensions. They are very, very, very thin, like in an example of this one.
This is so uncanny.
Yeah, it's very, very thin.
No, I mean it looks like something I picked up from like, oh, make a wish, and then you blow.
So these ones are usually categorized, into two. They are volume lashes and very single lashes. Like that one we use for classic installation for person who does not want such of a dramatic change in her eye look. Yeah. So you just want them to be full and to maintain the same size and very natural.
Yeah, because I mean, 1 minute it was even on my hand, and the next I was like, I don't know if she wants it back, but I lost it. How many of those do you then put on someone's eye?
On every. So this one is I'm going to use this dummy as an example of a natural human lashes.
Okay. Yes. Wait, maybe do we touch on this one first before we jump into demonstration?
So this is also another type. There are two types of, single individual lash extension. They're the classic types, and these are volume lashes.
Okay.
Instead of that one single lash strand, these are like 4, 3, 2 that are attached together at the base. Yeah. So instead of placing one on an individual lash, you place that. So this is for volume. It creates such volume on the natural lashes.
Okay. And do you have different sizes? Like if someone's lash, okay, so it's different sizes.
Yeah, they're different sizes.
All right. Okay, so now comes a demonstration with the single lashes, right? Single lashes. So I'm supposed to assume that this is their natural lash.
Human lash.
Okay. Already,
so
I mean, she's doing very well.
I'm going to use a lash glue.
Okay, which normally you wouldn't put on their forehead.
No, I have to put something that if I'm comfortable when it's closer to the eyes.
So you would put it on there?
Not on the direct forehead because it will react to the skin, just on something. On a paper or a tape.
So they have to be very still?
Yes.
So I'm going to have to hold your mannequin down?
Yes. So what happens with these lashes, they're strip lashes. They are basic. They're the normal basic you can put on in the morning and remove at night.
Yeah.
This is normally you apply a very semi-permanent, it's a temporary glue on the strand. Yeah. And then you place all over the natural lashes that way. Yeah. And then you can remove at night. Yeah. So
and they're different. They come in different sizes and lengths and thickness.
Length and thickness and fullness. Yeah.
So some of them can be like this long, and you're just like, you look like a bird. And then some are like the most natural. Yeah. And they just look like oomph, but like there's give you a little bit of oomph.
Yeah. And then there is the cluster, which I said they are just single lash strands that are tied down with a knot. It's applied direct to the eyelid, so I'll assume this is the lash glue. Okay. I'll just apply directly in between the lashes directly to the eyelid like that. Yeah. So you create all over that way, going that way.
Okay. Okay. And how long would a procedure like this take?
This takes even like 10 minutes.
Oh,
you're just placing all over you. There is no formula.
Oh, okay.
For cluster lashes, there are no formula.
Okay.
So for the single lashes, what happens is that I have to take one for classic. That is,
there's such dexterity in this. Yeah. It's like you're going in for surgery.
This one actually takes time. It takes a maximum of 3 hours. Yeah, to do it. It's because I have to take every individual lash.
And that one, even I can see it's 2 lashes.
Yeah.
We're doing it out in the wind, so good luck.
Yeah. So I have to dip it in the glue and then separate your natural lashes. Let's assume this is one single strand and then place it on like that. Place it on. So I have to place on every individual natural lash of my client. So that's why it takes up to 3 hours.
I get it. I totally get it. So these ones stay for like, just for the day.
For the day. Yeah.
How long do these single
cluster
lashes go?
2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3
because
weeks.
the moment the glue detaches from the skin, it falls off.
Okay. And then what about these
these ones? They last as long as your natural lash will fall off.
So that would be how often does it?
Let's say 4 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
Depending, because the hair growth varies in people. Okay. So depending on how fast your natural lash moves forward, that's how it will move with the natural lash and fall off as it falls off.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about care. What can one do to prolong that so that you're not coming back in like, I don't know.
For every feeling. Yeah. So for the single individual lashes, I do show a client how to take care of them because it's something you last with as long as your natural lashes will grow. So you have to really clean them to avoid mites growing on the eyelashes. Yes.
What do you mean?
You see, we have to sleep, we have to tear up, so all that dirty accumulates to the lashes, in between the lashes. Okay. So if a client does not clean them, all that dirt is going to accumulate and start growing into mites. So you have to cleanse your lashes.
When you say cleanse, what should you be using? Is it oil products, water products?
It's a foam cleanser, lash cleanser. Okay. Whereby you use like a eyeshadow brush and the foam, and then you rub in between your lashes. Rub in between your lashes with the foam.
So you do have to maintain like a high standard of hygiene and cleanliness. Yes. No playing around.
Yes.
And are you allowed to continue doing things? Like, can you put mascara?
No. Okay. The moment you put mascara, it's going to weaken the glue. Okay. Yeah. So it's what mascara is water based. Eyeshadow has oil. So these things can weaken the glue. So even if you put eyeshadow, it's okay, but don't expect them to last as long as your normal eyelashes will last.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it something that you get a lot of brides doing? I imagine,
yes, because they want something they will stay with during the wedding, on the honeymoon. You know, it will last for long.
And I imagine also with the tears. With this one, you cry too hard and girl, that's it. Your lash is gone. You're like, don't cry, don't take a picture, wait. But with something like this, it sounds like it would, you can like pretty cry and tears will come down and it's still going to be fine. So let's touch on glue for a little bit for people who want to explore with this kind of lash. For beginners, you know, who aren't ready to dive into that world. What tips would you have when it comes to the tools you need and application?
So basically you can actually use your hands just to hold the lash you hold in between, like the middle part of the lash, and then apply the glue. The glue is a temporary glue. You can get it whenever you buy this one. You buy these lashes. And then you wait it to dry up for around a second or 3 seconds, just to be tacky. And then now you place it on your lashes, where the middle part is the middle part of your eyelid. Then you place it in and then you push it a bit for the glue to totally attach very well to the skin. Yes, this you can do it on yourself, but if you can't, you can get someone to do it. Anyone can place this on you. They just have to be like very particular and like, you know, you don't want a lash going across your lid. So if I thought, for instance, that these lashes looked good, is it okay for me to cut a little? Would you advise someone to just like chop because maybe my eye isn't that big? Actually, you have to customize according to your size of the eye. You can, before you put the glue, you can measure with your eye, and then if it's very long, cut whichever side you wish, but usually encourage on the end side than the front side. So cut the end side to totally be the same size as your eyelid, and then go ahead and place it. And what about reusing lashes like these? This ones? This you can reuse 2 to 3 times only. But if you take care of them very well. So I have a confession. I use mine a lot more time. I'm even scared to tell you how long, especially after you talked about mites. I'm like, what could I have going? But I use them like over and over, and I just like clean them out. If you clean them out and remove the glue, the previous glue, they maintain very well. That's what I've found too. Because I mean, on the show, I don't have lashes today, but I wear them quite often. So I found that it's just I don't need to keep buying lashes. If I'm just careful about them, I can reuse them. Last question is storage. You can store anywhere, just away from children. Don't want them destroying your lashes. No, you don't. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much, Henna, for breaking down the world of lashes and also microblading. I hope you learned something new, and if you've got a wedding or something special coming up and you don't want to be, you know, struggling with getting the perfect brows or the perfect liner, then you know who to call. We have one more segment lined up, and this time we're getting into the world of henna. So don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. We're at Parkin by Radisson, and we've been talking all things beauty. And this next segment, we're getting into the world of henna. My guest is Shamim Omar, who's actually an engineering student, but does this part-time. Welcome, Shamim.
Thank you so much.
This lovely lady in pink is Mercy. She's usually behind the scenes, but she's come out to, like, you know, be our hand model today because Shamim is going to do something. But before we even dive into that, I'm curious to know when your love for like henna art and all of that started.
It started when I was in my second year of uni.
Okay.
That's 2016.
Yeah.
We were on a long holiday, and you know, we go for holidays for months.
Yeah.
So you're in the house, then you find something to do. So I was looking around for pictures of henna, looking at them, and then I started doing videos, looking for tutorials, learning how to do it myself.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And before then you didn't have like a
no
passion or interest
at all.
But did you used to have it done?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go on YouTube, and I guess you yourself-taught, you teach yourself off of YouTube.
Yeah, you teach yourself how to do it.
Okay. And what was that like the first couple of times? Was it easy for you? Did it come naturally?
It was very hard.
Okay.
Like you feel like these guys are drawing with rulers or something. How did they get these lines done?
Yeah. And everything is like down to like
it's so
perfection.
detailed.
Yeah. What would you like to do on Mercy? I'm going to ask you questions as we go along, but what would you like to?
We'll do something simple.
Okay.
Just like a small pattern.
Okay.
But big enough for you to see.
Okay.
But very detailed as well.
Simple but very detailed. Tell me about like the tools that you need in order to start this.
You need henna paste, and there are like two types.
Okay.
You can have the red one or the black.
Okay, and red one means it just has a red tint, and black is more of a black tint.
Yeah. You'll need gift wrapping paper, which you'll make it into your pen.
Okay.
And then you fill the paste inside the paper.
Yeah.
Then use that. So you'll need sellotape, scissors.
How long did it take you before you started to feel really comfortable in your art?
It took time, a lot of time.
Like months?
Like, because when I started doing like self-teaching,
Yeah.
and then I did that for like some 3 weeks, and my mom was like, you know, you can actually turn this into something you can do.
Yeah.
So why not just go for classes, and you can surprise yourself.
Oh, so you took classes?
Yeah, so I went for classes.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks actually. And right after the classes, we had Eid festival. So people get henna done during Eid a lot.
Yeah.
So I gathered some kids from the neighborhood, and
Here are your lab rats. Sit down, let me do it on you. And how did that turn out?
Okay, I was so nervous, like, how am I even going to handle these kids? What if they say it's ugly, or yeah.
Interesting. So again, it took, like, would you say then it took you like a couple of months before you started to feel comfortable?
Like, let's say like 6 months, because I opened up my henna page like in 2017, so like that's like a year later.
Ah, so 6 months. And before, were you artsy?
I wouldn't say I was artsy, but I wouldn't struggle so much with if we're drawing things in biology class.
Okay.
Yeah.
You weren't like me, for instance, who if I was trying to draw a body, you'd be like, abort mission, Sharon, stop, embarrassing yourself. Tell me about, oh my goodness, already it just looks exquisite. I can't believe it. Oh, and you're doing an incredible job. So can you take me through technique tips? If someone is thinking of starting, just like you did, what are some of like the top 5 lessons, the techniques that they should be aware of?
The first thing is actually just don't stop going, because it will get to a point you'll just see your drawings don't look like other people's drawings, and it's not working out, but it will eventually. So just go through a lot of tutorials, a lot of photos. They're very renowned artists online, and they do really awesome jobs. So you can go through their photos and see what's trending, you know, try to copy that, and after some time you'll start designing your own patterns.
What about pressure, like when it actually comes to application? Because I'm seeing like some parts are thicker than others and some are like very like lightly placed. Is there a technique to that? Yeah.
It all starts with your paste.
Okay.
You have to make sure that your henna paste isn't watery. It's something you can actually, when you need it, you can press it out. When you don't, it won't come out. So something that's thick enough, but also not thick, so thick that it won't come out, that will give you a hard time.
Okay.
So when you need to make like thick parts of the design, you'll just press it a little more.
What happens when you make a mistake?
You have to be very careful. So you have to like keep track of what your client is doing.
Yeah.
Because if she wants to sneeze, you have to be ready for it. If she does sneeze and you weren't prepared, then you'll have to like quickly rub it off, or else it will stain. Yeah.
Oh, so you can quickly rub it off before it stains.
very quickly.
And before you start doing that, do you have the pattern in your head?
Okay, sometimes you have the pattern. Sometimes it will just come as you go.
So for this one, which one is it?
It's just coming.
As you go?
Yeah.
I guess practice, huh? Then you start to know how things form and build into, you know, the rest of it.
It takes a lot of practice.
That you started your Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
Like in 2017.
Yes.
How has that been now that you opened yourself up for business? What's that been like?
Okay, it's been crazy because you get calls. Sometimes you have exams. You're in the middle of the semester.
Yeah.
And you're like, you really want to go and do henna, but you can't because you have to study as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're in the pressure of exams. You're in the pressure of maybe you have a bride, and a bride is like a big deal.
Yeah.
So you just learn to balance. Like when school is not that, like you're not in that part of the semester, you can do a few bookings, like maybe after classes or the weekends mostly. But when it gets to now the sem is ending, you have exams, assignments, so much to do. Like you just give henna a break, decide to do your engineering.
Yeah, go back to engineering. Engineer by day, henna artist by like night. So would you say this has become a passion of yours?
Yeah. I really enjoy it. Like it's like, can I say therapy?
Oh, it's so funny. We had an art. We had a show where we were talking about like stress and how to relieve stress. And one of the things we talked about was art and how you can use art form as a form of like therapy and a cathartic process, and because you're just repeating the same thing and you're focused on. I mean, right now it probably isn't because I'm asking you all these questions, but being able to focus on the same thing and repetition sort of calms you down.
It does.
So what are the trends that you've noticed in the henna world?
Okay, so since we have the black and the red one, there's some white paste that people are also using.
White?
So it's like body paint.
Oh.
Yeah. And okay, like brides mostly like that one because like they just put it on the wedding day, and you can have it off your body like after some 3-4 days. It's gone.
3-4 days, and it's white paste, but it dries what color?
That one dries the same color.
Like
so
black or red?
No,
or
white.
It dries white?
Yes.
How does that?
So you look like you have a glove on your wedding day.
Wow.
Yeah.
On average, how long does it take to do like a henna design?
Okay, so the time depends on the type of design you're doing and how far do you want it to go. Because if you have a bride, you can go way up to here and the legs up to the knees, and that will take you like 6 hours to do a bride. Yeah.
Doesn't your hand start to cramp or something?
No, I get okay. I used to get really tired first times.
Yeah.
But as you go, it's not like you won't get tired, but you'll get used to being tired. So you'll just persevere through.
So you're saying this pattern, you hadn't imagined it before, it's just coming to you as you're going?
Yeah, I just knew I wanted to do something on this side of the hand.
Yeah. How long does it take to dry?
Doesn't take long, like half an hour maybe.
So it's half an hour of like not touching anything.
Like you can breathe but don't move.
Yeah. You cannot spoil. Can you imagine if like someone just like rubbed that right now?
I can cry.
So Shamim, do you ever find that some of your clients are allergic to the henna?
Yeah, sometimes it happens that they're either allergic to the black or the red one.
Okay.
So it's always good to know where you stand before you get henna done.
Are there alternatives, or is there another way that they can do it, or is it if you're allergic, it's done?
Okay, most of the times if you're allergic to the black, then the red won't really affect you.
Okay.
And the other way around as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there things that that someone can do to prep before coming to you? What do they need to do in order for them to be ready?
If you're a first timer, if you've never done henna before, then you can try either the red one or the black one. Don't do so much, because mostly the area that's mostly affected by allergies, it's up here.
Oh.
Yeah. When, like, some people, you do henna up to this point, they're fine.
Yeah.
When it gets to this point, it's starting to get itchy.
Interesting. And should their hands be oiled, or does that
The hand shouldn't be oiled, especially when you're doing the red one. The black one doesn't really, it doesn't affect the red stain, the black one stain. And if you're doing a longer pattern, maybe you'll have to wax.
Oh,
yeah,
because the hairs come in the way.
Yeah, you'll end up drawing hair instead of the skin.
Yeah, and that gets messy.
And it gets really painful when you want to now remove the paste from the body. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, let's talk about like now once this dries, what should someone expect?
So when it dries, it will start like flaking. So you can actually just peel it.
And we're done. It looks beautiful. And that was what, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
What?
Roughly.
It took you, you'd say 6 months to get to where a place where you could have done this comfortably.
Like you can even see the variations in my page.
Yeah.
When the first post look really
Like circles,
yeah.
Now it's like, oh, she's just even doing an interview and she's just like knowing what she's doing. All right, where can people find you, Shamim?
You can check out my page, and my phone number is there as well. Yeah, and you can communicate.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You lucky lady, Mercy.
Yeah.
You just had this done. You're just going to be popping this for the rest of the day and the week as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any ideas or tips or shows that you'd like us to do on the show, just leave us a comment or DM us, and that's at Living with S on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm your host, Sharon Mundia, and I'm now going to say kwaheri, goodbye. Tuonane. Bye, guys.
A very good morning and welcome to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu. For the next 2 hours, we'll be right here talking to you about things that matter, the news that are making your headlines this morning. And I'm joined by my colleagues who are across the country. We'll have Melita Oletenges, who will be joining us from Nyeri. Martin Maura will be joining us from Muranga. Bridget Ngana from Nakuru. Victor Kiprop is in Mombasa with the President of Kenya and President of Uganda. We have Bernardo Juang in Migori. And Bill Otieno is joining us from Maungu in Taita Taveta. CK, where do we begin? Let's begin from Bill Otieno, who is in Maungu, Taita Taveta. Bill, good to see you. Good morning. What do you expect from that region this morning? All right, Bill will be joining us in a little while, but Melita Oletenges is also joining us from Nyeri. Melita, good morning. Good to see you. Tell us what to expect from Nyeri County this morning.
Good morning to you, Ken. Good to see you too. We are coming to you from Nyeri, as you've rightly put it, but nothing much is happening here in Nyeri today, but we are keeping our eyes on the neighboring counties of Kirinyaga and Isiolo County. Today, this day, Governor Anne Waiguru is expected to launch a water project. That is the Makima Water Project at Nguruvani in Mwea, and thereafter distribute 1,000 liters of water tanks to about 1,000 households in Marurumo area, still in Mwea. Ken, remember, this comes at a time when water scarcity has hit different parts of the country, and this is in a bid to salvage the situation in parts of Kirinyaga County that are sometimes hit hard by drought. So we will be heading to Kirinyaga County just in a few minutes' time, just to follow up on this particular matter. And also remember, Ken, this particular region, central region at large, has reported water scarcity in different parts. Here in Nyeri, we had parts of Kieni constituency, which is the largest constituency in Nyeri, people reporting water scarcity. And this particular menace has not only hit the northern counties in Kenya, but also some regions in central Kenya that are sometimes hit hard by drought have started reporting water scarcity, and they are moving in swiftly to ensure that the extent of the drought is not experienced in a bad amount. So remember also in Isiolo County, we've had places such as Merti in Isiolo where people have been reported to have suffered this particular menace also. So Ken, today we are focusing mainly on what the counties around this region are doing in order to counter this particular situation. But for now, over to you, Ken.
Right, you have a full plate, water scarcity and mitigation. Melita Oletenges will be joining us with more details as soon as we have fresh details from that end. But let's cross over now to the county of Kisumu, where Oko Kusa now joins us also live with a live report. Oko, good morning. What do we expect from the county of Kisumu?
Well, good morning, Ken. And as Olita Tenges has just said, that acute water shortage is also being experienced here in Kisumu. In some parts of Kisumu, some residents have been going without water for the last 1 week after River Kajulu, which according to Kisumu Water and Sewage Company, Kiwasco, has dried up and therefore causing that shortage being experienced by some residents here in Kisumu. But away from that, we're also expecting to have a meeting here today regarding some task force. It's called the Multi-Agency Task Force Against Corruption, which is going to be meeting a host of stakeholders at Tom Mboya Labour College this morning. These stakeholders include KRA, that is Kenya Revenue Authority. We have Office of the Deputy Public Prosecutor, ODPP, and the CBK, that is Central Bank of Kenya, among others. So that meeting will be happening at Tom Mboya College. We will be following it up for our viewers. And again, there's also the campaigns at in Ugenya, in Siaya, the neighboring Siaya County. Remember, the by-election for Ugenya parliamentary is supposed to be happening next week on Friday, and therefore campaigns have reached fever pitch down there. So we'll be following up too on those campaigns that are happening there, Ken.
Right, Oko, and the question that is always asked, and people don't really understand this, why there's always a shortage of water in the county of Kisumu, yet you just have a lake just next to the town. Probably you can explain why that water is not being utilized.
Well, what is happening is that the Kisumu Water and Sewage Company, that is Kiwasco, has two water intakes that serves the people of Kisumu. One is based at Dunga, which is now the intake where they get water from the lake. But again, now those people who live on the hills, that is Mamboleo, Lolu Estate, Migosi, they are served by that intake at River Kajulu. So there are two water intakes that serve the residents of Kisumu. So the estates that are affected are those that rely on water supply from Kajulu water intake. That is what is happening here. So it's a complex thing that Kisumu Water and Sewage Company, Kiwasco, has been trying to explain to residents how they can't get supplied free the water from the Lake Victoria. But according to Kiwasco, is that those residents or those estates I've mentioned are on the higher side of Kisumu, and therefore they cannot actually be supplied with water from the Lake Victoria, which is in the basin, which is downstream, in other words, Ken.
Right, at least I have an idea why we don't have water in Kisumu. Thanks very much, Oko Kusa from Kisumu. Let's now take you back to Maungu, that's just in Taita Taveta, where Bill Otieno joins us from. Bill, good morning. Hope we have better connection now. What do we expect from Maungu?
Okay, thank you very much, Ken Mijungu, and I'm sorry for the technical glitch. We've been following several cases here and several events that are happening. We do understand we have the county government commissioning what we understand to be National Cereal Board depot, and this was after alarm raised by the locals in Taveta about, you know, finding out the market where to sell their products, and also how to easily get the manure. And we do understand the closest depot from Taveta, it's in Voi, back in Voi. And we do also understand the police is also still investigating the case of a police officer who was shot dead in Taveta, and this happened earlier this week. And we're also following up on a court case whereby Mohammed Kassam, whose truck was found with bang worth 2.1 million. Yesterday he was taken to court with his colleagues, and the court released him on 1.5 million each bail. And we do understand we're also having a different story going on here in Kasigao, some kilometers away from where I am now, and we are having locals having some tension with the mining investor, whereby they're saying this investor have been there illegally and has not been contributing anything to the community, and now they're having a program that they want to see how they will flush him out. This is what I'll be following up, and I'll be giving you back the details in our later subsequent bulletin. Back to you, Ken Mijungu.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill, from Taita Taveta, briefing us on what's happening. They'll be joining us later on in the course of the day. And just to let you know that today, the vetting of Hilary Mutyambai, this is the nominated Police Inspector General, begins this morning. He'll be grilled before he is formally confirmed to replace Joseph Boynet, who is moving to the tourism ministry. So as soon as we have those pictures and the sounds from that grilling, we'll definitely be taking you live there. But with me in studio right now to discuss several things happening in the political scene is Fred Okango, who is the Secretary General of the Third Way Alliance Party. And we have Charles Munyui, who is a political and governance commentator. We'll be speaking to them about several issues that have been happening in the political scene in a little while. But first, let's remind you of some of the top stories making you headlines as per last evening. Now, the list of those questioned over the 65 billion shilling Aurora and Kimore Dam scandal is growing. Former Devolution Principal Secretary Irungu Nyakera was the latest to be questioned at the DCI headquarters yesterday. Nyakera recorded his statement at the Criminal Investigations Branch as a witness. NTV's Mel Miendo reports that investigators flew to Mombasa yesterday to record statements from the Devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa and his agriculture counterpart Mwangi Kiunjuri.
Investigators are closing in on suspects involved in the 65 billion shillings Aror and Kimorer Dam scandal, said to have cost 21 billion shillings, which had been paid out as part of the contract sum. Wednesday morning, former Devolution Principal Secretary Irungu Nyakera was summoned at the DCI, and as cabinet secretaries met in Mombasa with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, investigating officers flew there to record further statements from Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa and Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri. The cabinet secretaries are expected back in Nairobi on Saturday, 30th March 2019, but the detectives could not wait until then. Kiunjuri was at the helm of the Devolution Ministry when contracts awarding the construction of the Kimorer and Aror dams in Elgeyo Marakwet to CMC Diravena were signed. Wamalwa was the Minister for Water and Irrigation from July 2015 to January 26th, 2018, when he was handed his current docket. It is expected that Judy Wahungu, who was the Environment Cabinet Secretary at the time of the signing of the contracts, will also be summoned to DCI headquarters. Just a day ago, detectives questioned Trade Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya and East Africa Community Cabinet Secretary Aidan Mohammed and 3 principal secretaries. Detectives are questioning why Kerio Valley Development Authority, KVDA, is providing services for dam construction, yet the company falls under water and irrigation services. It is the Kenya Forestry Service, KFS, which confirmed to detectives that no due diligence was carried out in sectioning the forested land for the construction of the 2 dams in Elgeyo Marakwet County. Investigators now say that there are indications that there was no plan to actually construct the dams from the beginning. This, they say, was a well-orchestrated scam. A keen focus is on the offshore accounts used by CMC Diravena, an Italian firm connected in the dams scandal. However, detectives will have to engage the International Criminal Court to get the money back to Kenya. Mel Miendo, NTV at the DCI headquarters.
Well, and the grillings continue until the man is found. Queen's Counsel Kawar Qureshi told the 5-judge bench presiding over a graft case involving Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu that there is no law preventing a sitting judge from being tried in a criminal court. Qureshi also explained to the court how the DCJ allegedly irregularly obtained a loan from a commercial bank without proper documentation, as NTV's Seth Olale, who's been attending the proceedings at the Milimani Law Courts, now reports.
Day 2 of the hearing of the graft case against Deputy Chief Justice had the prosecution led by Queen's Counsel Hawar Qureshi submit evidence before the 5-judge bench led by Justice Helen Omondi at the High Court.
Petitioner was engaged in buying and selling property.
The Queen's Counsel was in company of Deputy Director of Public Prosecution Dorcas Odwor, State Prosecutor Alexander Muteti, together with Attorney General's Counsel Emmanuel Biita. Qureshi started by clarifying that a sitting judge can't be tried in a criminal court of law before appearing in the Judicial Service Commission.
The petitioner appears to be more comfortable with abandoning the presumption of innocence, with appearing before the Judicial Services Commission in private, without public presence, where she seems to believe that allegations of dishonesty could be considered. And what would be the standard of proof?
The Queen's Counsel further explained how the Deputy Chief Justice allegedly irregularly obtained an unsecured, undocumented and zero interest 12 million shillings loan from Imperial Bank Limited and only paid when the bank had gone under receivership 2 years later.
That there is a substantial amount of indebtedness, some 49 million shillings, which is now unsecured. Indeed, it would appear that the proposed replacement security was, in fact, sold and could never have been provided.
Qureshi told the court that the irregular bank transaction was aided by suspicious direct dealings the DCJ had with the then managing director of Imperial Bank Limited without verification from any other bank official, and that the prosecution has evidence of the Deputy Chief Justice personally attending the late MD's funeral.
And what she's asking for is a loan facility to purchase property valued at 120 million shillings. She's seeking a facility of 70 million. And she told us that she's negotiating at arm's length with the bank in the same way as any other private customer would. But let's just see who this was written to. Top left, the group managing director, no less. Now, I suspect that the Imperial Bank is no different from any other bank. And I doubt very much that there are many customers, save for those who are extremely privileged, I wasn't going to say influential and well-connected.
The Queen's Counsel further defended DCI's involvement in the transaction, stating that the Kenya Revenue Authority raised the alarm over suspicious transactions, leading to the DCI and DPP swinging into action. Qureshi suggested to the court that such suspect transactions contributed to the collapse of Imperial Bank Limited with 34 billion shillings due to gross mismanagement that necessitated massive fraud. All the parties represented in the graft case implicating Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu will issue the final submissions on Thursday when the hearing continues. Seth Olale, NTV, Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
And a woman suspected to be part of a syndicate that prints and sells fake birth and death certificates was arrested and charged at the Milimani Law Courts. DCI detectives based at the Immigration Department found 347 forged certificates at Jacqueline Kwamboke's home in Kawangware. Detectives also recovered a computer, printer, seal for the civil registrations and an assortment of documents from that same house. The suspect was released on a free bond, awaiting the hearing next week. Police say investigations are at an advanced stage.
And very sad when we see Kenyans are being conned, paying over 1,000 shillings for a birth or death certificate, whereas the most expensive service we offer is only 150 shillings.
The implication of a birth certificate, a fake birth certificate or death certificate, is so huge, because by chance you may find a person, one or two, may slip and get an ID with a fake birth certificate. It can be a terrorist. You can be able to get letters of administration through death certificates and sell somebody's property, make false claims on insurance. So I think it's a big thing. It's not a very easy thing. But I think we will use all other means possible to ensure that all the culprits are brought to book.
Right, before we begin our discussion right here in studio, let's take you to Mombasa. President Uhuru Kenyatta and the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, are still in Mombasa. And this morning they plan to visit the port of Mombasa. By the way, Uganda accounts for most of those goods on transit from Mombasa. Uganda uses that, it's a landlocked country. So they use that port to get their goods to Uganda. And we understand that the President will be using the SGR to Nairobi. That's an honor, Victor, that will be given to Yoweri Museveni as the first head of state to travel on SGR. But again, there are a lot of things that came out of the discussion yesterday and the press conferences. So tell us briefly, what do we expect this morning and what exactly is the substance of this visit?
All right, thank you very much, Ken. We are live from the Mombasa port. As you rightly mentioned, this is the second container terminal of the Mombasa port, and this is where we expect that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his visiting Ugandan counterpart, President Yoweri Museveni, will be visiting later today. We believe that as President Museveni mentioned and put a lot of praise on this port yesterday. We believe that his visit to the port of yesterday is a vote of confidence on the port of Mombasa that handles at least 70%. Remember, 70% of the transit goods that are handled at the port of Mombasa are actually destined for Uganda. So we expect them to be coming anytime from now. But what we know is that he praised the port of Mombasa yesterday. He praised the efficiency with which our services have improved, especially during President Kenyatta's reign. And just to inform you, this visit by President Museveni brings a lot of benefits for both countries, and from the discussions they had yesterday, some of the agreements with which we know were reached include Kenya agreeing to increase their imports of Ugandan sugar from 36,000 metric tons to about 90,000 metric tons. We are also aware that Kenya agreed to resume importing poultry and poultry products from Uganda, as well as dairy products or dairy producers who we are aware that Kenya has agreed to reduce the paperwork which they are required before they can import dairy products into Kenya, as well as tile makers who are going to perhaps also benefit from the discussions that were made yesterday. But more importantly, we did not receive so much from the Kenyan side, but what we know is in return, Uganda will be lifting a long-standing ban on beef products from Kenya, which are expected to resume immediately after the presidents and the officials signed these agreements. Today, we will be expecting that they will be visiting this port. We expect that it will be a vote of confidence on the port of Mombasa. Remember, this is Africa's sixth largest airport. It handled about 30 million tons of cargo in 2017 and also handled about 1.2 million food containers. So it means it's a major vote of confidence on this port. Remember, there have been concerns Tanzania's Bagamoyo port, which is being developed by the Tanzanian government. So we expect they will be arriving in probably about 2 hours, and we will be able to brief you on much more what they will probably agree as regards to doing business between the two countries. But as you rightly mentioned, after their visit to the port, the two presidents will be able to board the standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Nairobi, Ken.
And Victor, that will be the third time President Uhuru Kenyatta will be using the SGR, and the first time President Yoweri Museveni will be using the SGR. Thank you very much. We'll be going back to Victor as soon as the president lands in Mombasa. And we expect this morning also to cross over to the vetting room where Hilary Mutyambai, the incoming Police Inspector General, will be vetted. As soon as we have the pictures and sounds, we'll also be heading there. But let's come back to studio, now joined by Charles Munyui and Frederick Okango, to discuss what's happening in the world of politics. Let me start from where it matters most. President Uhuru Kenyatta is in Mombasa, and Yoweri Museveni is in Mombasa. Incidentally, Uganda is our biggest trading partner, right? Yes. What benefits does this confer to this country now that it's a huge talk about SGR, about imports? And by the way, I did not know that 70% of total imports through the port goes to Uganda. I thought it's Kenya. I didn't know. So let me begin with Fred.
I think it's a good thing. The bilateral relations is a good thing. But one thing that I pointed out from this visit is that Uganda will be increasing their export to Kenya of what we call the eggs and other things. You see, sugar, for example. If Uganda exports to Kenya 36,000 metric tons, and they are going to triple that, basically, what we are doing as a country, we are killing our sugar sector. To me, that worried me. The other thing is, what is this thing that Uganda is doing so much in terms of exporting poultry to Kenya, and Kenya cannot do? So maybe we just need to understand why that is happening. And I also noticed Yoweri Kaguta Museveni talked of Uganda importing pepper from Finland. And he requested the President of the Republic of Kenya if they could now try import from Kenya, which is within the ESA community. If you look at the pepper industry in Kenya, start from the rye, all of these have collapsed. So I think he's trying to endear himself and try to help Kenyatta in a way that they can revive the industry in the East African community, and more so Kenya that is visiting. So it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's a challenge to us. Why would we import things like sugar while we have got sugar being grown in Kenya and the industry have died? Why would we import poultry while we have got farmers in Kenya, Kenchik and the rest that can help us? So for me, while it is a good thing, it's also a bad thing because we have been challenged.
Okay, and the pan pepper thing was a serious indictment to Kenya, you know?
It was.
And did we read it as such? Did we read it as such, Charles, that it was a serious indictment?
It was, and I think we take a lot of things very casually. When huge industries like that, those ones come down crumbling, we don't see the implication that it has on the number one on the region. But my take on what's going on is it's amazing. First and foremost, we have a problem with our farmers because they cannot even be able to dispose of their eggs, as it were. And here we have Museveni applauding that. All of a sudden now he can comfortably export his eggs to this country. And I don't blame Kenyans consuming eggs that are reasonably better priced than the local ones. I think as a country, we are in an East African community arrangement in terms of the market, but are we really ready in terms of our products? Are they reasonably priced to the extent that other countries can consume the same? And it boils down to the cost of production. If you look at our cost of production, the ease at which you do business in this country is still a challenge. And that's why you'll find Uganda, much as it's landlocked and all those things, can be able to give us eggs that are cheaper, poultry that is much, much cheaper. Museveni is keen on getting funding from the border for the SGR to maybe Kampala. And that's why I would want Kenya to extend the SGR from Kisumu to the border, because that is a condition. If it doesn't happen, then the aspect of the railway in Uganda will not happen. And that's why he's here. And the reason as to why I'm even shocked that we cannot even be able to negotiate with him better now that we hold him by some other parts that I will not talk about, because human anatomy is such that if you mention some of these things in the morning, it will look funny. But bottom line, we should be able as a country to negotiate. We are the biggest economy in the region. How come it is our people that are crying? How come people only rush to us when they need something from us? How come we cannot hold strong and say, now we need A, B, C, D done. We need it to do business easier with you. Look at Tanzania. They harass our business people left, right, and center. But trust me, the moment they want something, they'll walk in here, bravando, 21-gun salute, and then before you know it, we'll be handing down everything they need to them. I think a few things need to change. We have an East Africa community. I don't even know what the assembly does in the first instance, whether they're holding brief for this country or they just walk in there and just relax and everything is okay. I think something needs to be done so that as a country, as an economy that is reasonably big in the region, we start seeing the benefits.
Okay, very interesting indeed. And Victor just mentioned that the port of Mombasa is the 6th biggest in the region.
Yes.
You know, I don't know why I always thought it's about second after Durban. All right, let's bring the conversation here. That was a light moment. Yes. Let's talk about politics. Yes. And a day ago, I think it was on Tuesday, we saw President Kenyatta and William Ruto, the deputy president, sit at Harambee House Annex and have lunch. Before then, last week, there was this Twitter gaffe that really exposed the presidency. So I don't know, do we start from the lunch or do we start from the Twitter gaffe? Because that's where the lunch, the culmination of the lunch, right? So let's go back to the Twitter gaffe. I tweeted and said the president, hours before they released the video, that the president should have stood behind that tweet. And indeed, a few hours later, they did. What occasion? I don't know if his, I'll check if his Twitter handle is active now. But why did they do that, Charles, in your mind? Let me begin, a seasoned politician. Why did they do that?
I think it was, I had, up to now, I have no idea. I have no clue why that, all that was a big issue. First and foremost, Twitter is good, and a lot of information comes in through Twitter. But the moment a lot of stuff happens around a tweet that to me does not really deviate so much from what the president has said, up to today, it is still a mystery as to why there was so much attention around it. And I've not seen anybody get intimidated in terms of job
There was so much attention because when it was tweeted out, well, we accepted it because long or short, that's what the president has been saying. Probably not so explicit as to tag my closest political ally in it. Yes. But that's basically what the president has been saying. That's what he said. So that's the hullabaloo is after it was deleted.
The question is, if he said it, does it matter really whether it was someone did tweet it or it doesn't matter? To me, the fact that he said it, and to me it is the right thing to say. And he has consistently said it, that it doesn't, I'll lose friends. Remember there's a time he said, I am aware I am going to lose a lot of friends. And those friends I want to believe include relatives, family members, and naturally political and business allies and colleagues. So why was this such a big issue? And I think a lot was made around an issue that unless other information, you know, comes to the public domain that we don't know, I don't think there was any need to put us around so much, you know, I don't know, shenanigans, if you ask me. It was totally not necessary. I hope people have moved on. I hope now that that account will come back again and we'll continue enjoying what's been happening there. Because it's a president. He can be allowed to say a few things, get away with a few other things. We have a right
to right things.
We have a right to interpret them the way we want to interpret them. Remember Kibaki? Kibaki used to talk, you know, namna yo, namna hi, and then we interpret it and we talk about it, and we have a conversation around it. And even newspapers write about what he meant by what he said. Moi, the same thing. Moi was all over. We never used to know half what Moi was saying, but the newspapers would help us, would understand. Some would put it in another way. So a tweet of that nature, to me, and even the statement in the first instance was right, and I don't think it was necessary to bring that the handle down.
Fred, it looks as though there was no problem with that expression, my brother, my sister, and all. The problem came in the last part.
Closest
ally. Yes, closest political ally. And interestingly, he has never explicitly said it the way he did. And the reason why there was a problem, if you look at the video version that was sent to the media first, had edited that last part. It means they had, everything was right. He's mentioned his brother on the platform before. Remember the sugar scandal?
Yes, yes.
He mentioned his brother. Kama ni ndugu yangu amepatikana. You know, the other day he mentioned Karura Forest. Remember? He's mentioned, but that was the first time. So he doesn't think we should have had a lot of issues around it. What do you think?
Ken, first of all, President Kenyatta is a politician. Before he became a president, he has been a politician before. And remember when he reorganized his communication team, there were so many blunders in how the message is getting to the public. And every time the media tried to pick what they're saying, it could be misinterpreted, and then it could get annoying.
Or interpreted rightly.
Or interpreted rightly, for that matter. Now, in this case, I saw Nzio Kawaita coming out immediately to clarify, and he said there was an attempt to hack, and they're putting everything in place to restore that, I mean, those social media accounts. It was not only on Twitter, it was also on Facebook. It went blank. I think, and I want to borrow the words of Ole Itumbi, who appeared in one of your shows here and said...
Press.
Yes, he said that some of those Twitter or social media accounts are personal accounts. You know, the Twitter handle, You Kenyatta, is a Twitter handle to the president. But the name reads the name Uhuru Kenyatta. Same to the Facebook. But I've seen a Twitter handle that reads State House, which is active and is still continue to give the public information that they would want or they would desire to know about. So for me, it is about politics. Because when President Kenyatta said that whether you are my close political ally, my brother, he didn't mention any name. But the other side, Jubilee B, thought that maybe they were a target, and that's why they quickly reacted. And there was a fake one now responding. I don't know whether you saw it, Ken. A fake one responding to what the president said. It means somebody deliberately wanted to direct this message to mean that the leader of Jubilee B, if that exists, was targeted. So for me, all these things are not issues that Kenyans want to know. In fact, the fight within Jubilee should be a non-issue to Kenyans. The issue should be How is Jubilee organizing themselves to deliver on the agenda? When these two gentlemen campaigned, they convinced Kenyans on the 10-point plan that they would deliver 1, 2, 3 things. The other day, we had an issue, Ken, at Kenyatta National Hospital, where over 20 women allegedly detained for failing to pay their medical bill. But in the Jubilee agenda, one of the proposals was there will be free maternity care. Listen, I think enough of this PR of politics. Deactivating Twitter accounts, my brother, my enemy. I mean, it's not helping Kenyans to do anything. What Kenyans want to see, beyond those fights, they want to see a united front of a government that is delivering the promises. And lastly, on that issue, Ken, you have noticed also there are certain politicians who will always respond to anything the president says. And these people are responding in defense of certain individuals. Why would they do that and they're serving in the same government? I think it is indiscipline. It is not necessary. What we need to do, we need to focus ahead. The Twitter of the president was temporarily deactivated. Okay. We pray and hope that it will be up in the next few hours.
I can't say I've tried to look for it. It's not there. It's not active.
It should be, because Yoweri Kaguta is in town and is tweeting. Our president should also be tweeting alongside Yoweri Kaguta. Yes.
Okay. Both of you think this is a non-issue. I don't know why.
It is an issue, if you ask me, because the bottom line is really, is Uhuru ready to sacrifice his fight against corruption if his closest political ally is involved directly or indirectly? And I think that's a question. If he is not, as he has said several times, then that statement stands. So to that extent, then, does it really matter whether that Twitter handle is up or down? The bottom line is, he has said severally, I'm going to lose friends, I am going to lose my relatives as friends, I'm going to lose my allies. So throwing in the aspect of political ally. And I remember, I can't remember anybody specifically, especially those organs of government that matter, including the DCI, DPP, or EACC. I have never heard them say we want to interview or interrogate William Samoei Ruto. Okay. I cannot remember. In fact, the only time there was an issue was about Weston, and then it was confirmed it was a purchaser for value without notice, which is legally okay, other than the moral aspect of the fact that if you hold a property that you bought in a proper way, but it was, it was procured improperly by the person who sold it to you, those are issues that we need to think about. You can get away with it if you're an average person, Ken Mijungu, Charles Mwenyewe, or my brother here, but if you're a politician who is seeking the top position in this country in terms of leadership, then that becomes an issue. Okay. But there's nothing criminal he has done up to this point. So I don't see at what point all fingers, especially by his friends, by his colleagues, they are pointing at him and saying anything about fighting corruption is about William Ruto. And you know that narrative now is working very well, and I think it's feeding those people who would want to fight him politically. So other than that, I don't see why the president would shy away or feel like, or his handlers would feel like he should shy away from talking about his closest political ally, because that's a reality, that's a truth, that's what he has told us consistently, and I don't remember him being inconsistent.
I have a supplementary question on this before we move to the next topic, but first let's cross over to the Kenya School of Government, where the Interior Cabinet Secretary is expected to attend, and he will be launching the police training curriculum. Vincent Duor will be covering this for us and now joins us live. Vincent, good morning. What is this about? What is this examination or training curriculum? What is it?
Absolutely. It is basically about the launching of the National Police Service Examination Policy and Guidelines. And this is meant to basically operationalize the National Police Act, which is in place. Remember, it is also about structuring the ways and the process of examining our police officers, because these new guidelines and policy is going to introduce two types of examinations. One will be a course examination, while the other one will be a proficiency examination. The course examination will be basically about, or it will be concerning, and it will be done by those people who are joining the service through the normal recruitment process, while the other examination, which is the proficiency examination, will be done by officers who are serving in the field, and this will be geared towards making them be familiar with you know, the laws and regulations that are in place, and also the emerging issues as far as the police service is concerned. And the chief guest today in this event will be the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who will be expected here at midday, because this is a day-long event. Other people who will be also around and are expected to speak at this event is the Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, and also the Inspector General of Police is also here with his two deputies who are also present, and also the Chairman of the National Police Service Commission, Eliud Kinuthia, will also be here, and they'll be talking about the issue of professionalizing the examination or the process of examining our police officers, so as to ensure that at the end of the day, the officers who come out from the training institutions are officers who will be able to professionalize the service and be able to conduct their duties in an efficient and effective manner to deliver services that are much needed by the community. And therefore, this is a day-long event, and it will continue up to evening. And basically, the moment the CS arrives, because he is the chief guest, will be able to know everything to do with these new police service examination policy and guidelines, which will officially now operationalize the National Police Service Act. For now, we'll bring you up to date when the event formally begins. Now I'm taking you back to the studio.
Thank you, Vincent Oduor. And I hope, Vincent, this also involves public relations. You know, the police need to be taught about how to relate with the public. Thanks, Vincent. We'll be coming back to you as soon as we have the Interior CS speaking. But I told you I have a supplementary question. We have about 15 minutes before we take the break. When the president sort of deleted the tweet at first, and his team edited that clip, and I know we need to get over and done with this, it was seen as an affront rather than strengthening the war on corruption. I don't know if you two interpreted it as such, because then it means there is no real commitment. And my question is, how much would this be of a dent in the war on corruption? Because then you saw the cartoon that Gado had yesterday about fighting corruption, then you suddenly realize that you are joined at the hip and you can't fight. It's been described as a smoke screen, right? A PR exercise from the DPP point of view, and DCI, they've said this is a PR exercise, public lynching and all. Now, when it comes to the presidency, with the deletion of that tweet and trying to edit the biggest political ally, and let's face the truth, this country has vilified the deputy president, accused him wrongly or rightly about some of these things, right? So when he did that, how much was it of a dent?
I think it's a big dent, because it shows the weaknesses of a president. Mm-hmm. It shows that he can only shout much, but his people whom he appointed on the basis of suitability and competence, like DCI and ODPP, cannot do much. Now, remember, the president is the head of state. And some of these people that are in office that we say now are independent is the one who nominated them, and then they were approved by the parliament. So he still has the authority. He can easily call Kinoti, he can easily call Haji and tell them, look, gentlemen, this issue of corruption, we must fix it, and we must fix it once and for all. Do your thing and ensure that we have convictions and the money looted is returned. But listen, if the president can go to Namibia and issue that statement in Namibia, then come back to the country and issue the same statement, but we still see the same things happening. How many of his cabinet members have been grilled? Some have been grilled 3 times. Yesterday, the detectives had to fly to Mombasa to grill them while the president is hosting a visiting president. Listen, it means that there's a lot of delays in terms of dealing with the corruption. And that's why the public are getting impatient. They're thinking, this is just another exercise that is not going to end, to see the light of day. So for me, in my opinion, I think that the president should stop the tweets about corruption. He should stop the public utterance about corruption, but he should allow his boys, Kinoti and team, to ensure that they work day and night so that we get the corrupt, they are taken through the process in a faster way. Because you see, also taking so long, you are denying that justice. You must take them in a faster way so that the public can now gain that confidence. By the way, if you look at the ODPP, some of the reports is relying on are reports that were developed old days ago, because these are things that they have been following. Today, now we want to advise them. Let us go to the Auditor General, get that report as the first piece of evidence. Let us use forensic audits and accounts to nail these people, because that is the msema ukweli. That is the truth about how money was misappropriated. But I advise the president, let us stop the Twitter war. Let us stop the anger in public. It makes him look a bit weak, while he's not. But let us now use the institutions and strengthen those institutions to fight this war tooth and nail.
But the public wants to hear more. The public wants to hear what the president has to say about this. And does it also show no real commitment?
I think you must remember where this is coming from. Remember, a few days ago, we were just talking about the DPP. William Samoei Ruto's supporters were just talking about how weak and how misguided the DPP and the DCI are in terms of the fight against corruption, and how they are targeting a specific individual in the name of the deputy president. So if the president of the Republic of Kenya, the appointing authority, does not talk about the fight against corruption with consistency, every minute that he gets, every opportunity that he gets, he must remind Kenyans that the fight against, because people have given up. The moment the DP is talking, the deputy president is talking that way about someone we want to believe they collectively worked on towards appointing in terms of the presidency, then what do you expect in terms of morale with, amongst the Kenyans down there? They were sure the fight is going in the wrong direction in the first instance, because that's a narrative that was being developed. They were sure that these things will not end because the DCI, by the way, is only charged with the responsibility of dealing with petty criminals and stuff like that. He has no business dealing with blue-collar crime and economic crimes for that matter. So if the president does not keep talking about this, what will happen is that the momentum will go down, and the moment Kenyans stop believing in the fight against corruption by way of reminding everyone that this fight must be won, then those people who are fighting the fight against corruption will have won. And I think that is what informed the president that is what informs him in terms of every now and then reminding us that he's unrelenting. And those people he's working with are unrelenting. Remember, we have had cases in the past, Ken, that came a clopper because of either, number one, poor investigation or poor prosecution, as it were. And now we have a team that is keen on ensuring things go well. If something came up and the CS, who is supposed to be hosting or maybe having a meeting on the sidelines of what is going on in Mombasa with maybe their counterparts on the other side, is in Mombasa, it is much easier. And by the way, it removes the aspect of you are summoning them, you've stopped. Because if they were stopped from going to Mombasa, or they were summoned from Mombasa to come to the DCI, the story would be totally different. And remember, someone like what the trade minister said is exactly what he did and what he went through, and that is captured very well in the newspapers today, and especially the Daily Nation. Bottom line, the DCI, who is supposed to investigate, is working. Yeah? The DPP is getting these files and saying, we have loopholes here, let us seal them. And so it doesn't matter whether the Twitter handle is down or whether there has been a handshake or supplementary handshakes. The DCI's office is working towards ensuring these people that did these things, the right ones and the right amounts, are taken to the DPP for prosecution. And I think that is what is most important to us, irrespective of how the president handles his communication department. Yes.
But the fact, you know, probably my understanding of this is a little different.
Yes.
The fact that you cannot stand behind your words, that is where the problem is. The fact that he tweeted, and I'm sure they tweeted from his speech while he was addressing, the fact that someone thought that this is so sensitive, remove it. That fact only. It's not about him using the social media or not, but the fact that it can be said so boldly on the platform and you edit half of it out. And the fact that you tweet the same thing and then you remove the tweet, I think that's where the problem is. It's not about using this account.
Civil servants have been made to make major blunders, even.
But that's not a blunder.
I think someone should be working right now, jobless, if you ask me, and that would be able to make us see now the sense in exactly what happened.
Absolutely, and that means the president is giving in to the pressure from the other side that is targeting certain individuals. I don't think the president should give in to that. If we are going to fight corruption tooth and nail, then the president should stand by his word and say, we are going to do it. And I think the most important thing, all these people that have been mentioned, they have been grilled 4 times. The DCI have flown all the way to Mombasa to grill them. It is an embarrassment when the DCI come to grill you while in the entourage of the president receiving another president. I mean, it is an embarrassment to this country. Those people now must now decide in their honor to step aside and allow the law to take its course. Because really, why are you still in office? You are keeping time, wasting people's time, money is being looted, and then you deny. Remember the other time he told them, some of you are seated here with no notebooks. I mean,
and
for how long?
And yesterday they were like this.
They were lying there.
Yeah.
You see, the president must now know that his cabinet and most of those who are very close to him are used to his utterances. They just look and watch because he knows nothing's going to happen. So he need to act. He really need to act like yesterday.
I am an unbeliever that 70% of that cabinet should go. And I have a problem with the recycling leaders, especially at the CS level. If someone is not performing, take them home. We have many Kenyans who are qualified. Ken, you can be a CS comfortably. I know you are very happy here, but you can be a CS and I'm sure you'll perform. You know, that's the bottom line. So let's say this, don't recycle these people. I have a problem with recycling at the level of the CS, at the level of the PS, even a board member of a serious parastatal of this country. You find yourself taking an MP who was an MP for 10 years, got broke, then you give him a parastatal. What are you telling him? You're telling him, organize a procurement here and make something out of it. That's the bottom line. So the president must stop this.
Just be wise about it.
Exactly.
Be wise about it.
Yeah, so he has to stop it.
Okango has introduced something that I'd like you to comment on also. Yes. The fact that we might be getting so comfortable with the presidential utterances to the extent that we don't really care. We know he can as well say today. He can as well say corruption today. You know, it's a song.
No, I think he means it. And why I believe he means it is because he's supporting the institutions that are fighting corruption. And that to me is more important than anything else.
No, but the people like the CSS, who are sure... I remember the first one when we used to have the State House summits. Yes. When he said, what do you want me to do? That's one of the first serious times we saw the president really talking strong about this. And he's been talking about it consistently 3 years now, right? Yes. What he's trying to say is perhaps they're used to it. He can say it again and again and again. It won't matter.
If you remember that time, the president had actually told CSS to step aside. I don't know where that came from.
Which he regrets, by the way.
And they stepped aside.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the institutions that were supposed to take up the issue, including the office of the DCI especially, and then the DPP, did not do their work properly. So we ended up where we started with these people, you know, getting out scot-free. So I think at that point when he got frustrated to the extent that he uttered it in public, that is when he started investing in a proper DCI, a proper DPP, in terms of an office, by the way, not just the person plus the office and the motivation and the support, because now the support comes from no less a person than himself. In the past, it was just there, wishy-washy. We were not sure. So I think, to me, what must happen is, much as he's warning people, I think warning from a president must very, very quickly be followed by action. If you talk about a CS who is not taking notebooks, who doesn't have a notebook, then we should see a CS going home.
Have you seen the North Korea leader with his entourage of notebook holders and writers? He has a whole battalion, like 30 people, all of them following with notebook, right? Kim Jong-un. Yes.
And I think that is a working government. You see, when we just accompany the president so that we will be seen in the media that we were with the president, and we don't take notes of what he's saying so that we can help our people, then it is useless. And just what you said, you see, today, Ken, most of these CSs, they were selected or nominated or appointed on the basis of personal integrity. So if your integrity is in doubt, surely, what more do we need to keep you there? We don't need to keep you there. Yeah. And he said, there are so many suitable Kenyans and competent that can do this job. But the president has been trying to follow the law by allowing the independent institutions to do their job. Unfortunately, the independent institutions like the DCI has also been attacked by some quarters of the public that they are targeting a certain individual. I think it is time now they move fast, release the report, and if there are any people to be arrested, because the media has been speculating that probably this weekend some senior Kamata will be back. If that happens, then we would want to see, and the public would want to see, where are these cabinet secretaries, the big shots who have been mentioned? Are they being arrested? Are they being taken to court? Is the process followed? That is Kenya want to see. And I would love to see that personally happen, because the president has been talking about this thing over and over and again. People go to Karura Forest to record statements, but you know what? They come back in their puffed offices, leather chair, and they swing and nothing happens. We must be serious now.
All right. Time to take another break. Frederick Okango and Charles Munyui will be right back to talk about this. When we come back, let's talk about mending fences, right? What happened 2 days ago when the president decided to walk to Harambee Hall Annex. What that means, it's not the first time after such an acrimonious day or week we see the president doing this. So we'd like to talk about that. Plus, we want to talk about an interesting subject, impeaching the vice president or the deputy president, right? Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to NTV Today. Ken Mijungu is my name. With me in studio is Frederick Okango, Secretary General of the Third Way Alliance Party, and Charles Munyui, who is a political and governance commentator. This morning, we are on standby for the vetting of Hilary Mutyembe, who is the incoming Inspector General of Police. We're also on standby for Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who's headed to the Kenya School of Government, where the new curriculum for the police is supposed to be launched, and hopefully it will involve public relations and how they relate directly with the public. As soon as we have a video and sound from those two events, we'll definitely be telling you or taking you live there. But there are a lot of other things that we're following up from across the country. All the counties are active, and we'll try and get, if we can, anything happening in those counties. Water issue is a huge issue in Nyeri and Murang'a, and of course, we were told by Melita Oletenges that Governor Anne Waiguru is also concerned about the water issue. The Murang'a issue has been extended to Nairobi, and that's not about all. We're following up at the port of Mombasa. President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni are set to visit the port any moment from this hour, and our reporters there on the ground, that is Kevin Mutai and Victor Kiprop, they'll be bringing us those sounds and video from that end also. And we understand that the two presidents will be on SGR to Nairobi. That will also be covered, and we'll have a live interview right in the train. Right, let's come back to the studio and discuss these matters. And I really wanted, before we cross over to the lunch issue that happened on Tuesday, it was on Tuesday, right? Yeah. I want to talk about something that increasingly Kenyans have begun to see. Raila Odinga is very silent when all these things are going on. And the question now that Kenyans are asking is why the silence? And there's a lot of conspiracies being woven out of his silence. I don't know if we think he's silent or he doesn't just have anything to say about this.
I think Raila is speaking, because if you ask me, if it's working for him, then he doesn't have to say anything, and that's how Raila operates. If things are working, if everyone is pointing finger at a certain person, if the BBI is getting an extension on its term, if things are rolling out as we want them to roll out, I want to believe he's the kind of person who pokes and then walks away and then leaves you making a lot of noise, and you look like the one who is not nice, who is not good. So I think, to me, right now, there isn't much he can do, because he's been accused of imploding Jubilee, and his people have come out and said, you have your own issues, sort them out. Mine is my concern, and my focus is on the arrangement. I have the handshake and the subsequent Building Bridges initiative. The task force is out there collecting views. And in the meantime, we are happy ensuring the fight against corruption is sustainable. So I think, to me, he's avoiding looking like he's on a one-on-one, because the moment he takes himself to the level of having a one-on-one with William Samoei Ruto, what he'll have done is stepped slightly lower from where he is with the president in terms of the working relationship he has with him right now, and having now to engage with his deputy. And I think Raila will not want to do that. That's why you're seeing the Orengos and everyone else getting busy and saying this and that. Joho saying, I'll trounce Ruto, you know, give him to me, I'll trounce him. So they want Raila to be on another level, so that everyone else now plays at the other rig. So Raila will only comment on matters that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta would otherwise be commenting on.
Or just second them.
Yes, second them. That's the point.
So,
yeah.
I think you cannot speak when you're in government. You know, when you're in government, you follow the government policy, the government directive, and...
but Raila is not in government, Fred.
When the president went to Kisumu, Ken, that historic visit, he categorically said, and you guys have those clips, he said, Raila ako ndani ya serikali. Those were his words, quote him verbatim. Now, what we have seen, Ken, is a situation where you can deny you are not in government, but in real sense you are. We saw it with the endorsement of the presidential memorandum on 8% VAT, when the majority leader and minority leader came together. What was that? We have seen it severally when they issue statements. We have seen it severally when they talk about the fight against corruption. They have all come together, the opposition and the government. I mean, that is working together. It is good. Now, the issue here is not whether he's silent or talking, but the issue is he has another responsibility that he's trying to deliver on, which is his job in the AU. We wish him well, and we hope that he delivers that and Kenya benefit most, because he's a Kenyan. Number two, today, the supposed war between William Ruto and Raila Odinga, to me, I look at it politically. You know, in politics, everything is possible.
Yeah.
You can be shocked one day, you will come back here and say, we thought these two were enemies. Well, they'll be working together. So everything is possible. But the most important thing is, we must now stop this narrative that a certain leader is against a certain leader. And that's why, for me, I know you'll bring it up, I'm against the idea of any attempt to impeach the deputy president. I'm not holding brief for him, but I know for sure that that attempt to impeach the deputy president, Senator Orengo knows very well it is not possible. As a senior lawyer, he knows it's not going to happen, but he's trying to bring together his supporters, and who are also supporters of ODM, to a certain direction, especially in the Ugenya by-election, where we are also fielding a candidate, by the way, as a matter of fact. So for me, I don't see any reason why today we can say Raila should talk or he should keep quiet. He's a Kenyan. If you want to talk, he can talk. But if you don't want to talk, he can do the job he was given.
Okay. Okay. And as he speaks, it's interesting that every time there's a crisis crisis probably translated by the media as a crisis, not real crisis, we see the president making amends with the deputy. Now, this time round, it happened right across Harambee House, right? The Harambee House annex.
Yes.
The president just decided to walk in, have lunch, although he had other things he was doing there, like the interview that we're really waiting for. I hope it's something that we really have been waiting for. But just the fact that the president went to Ruto's office and it was shown, and Kenyans know he went there. What does this do to the perceived strife or split in the Jubilee government?
I think nothing much changes, if you ask me. And the fact that Orengo had indicated that they were planning on impeaching the deputy president, everyone knows, like my colleague has said, in the event you want to impeach the deputy president, there is no way NASA is going to do it without the support of members of Jubilee. So in the event the president does not do anything and he goes silent about it, the assumption out there and the perception out there will be, actually this is happening, and it has the nod of the president. Okay. And that's why, to me, deliberately, he did not have Ruto come over to Harambee House, because the next thing that media would be reporting, other than the nation, would be Ruto summoned, you know, and given a dressing down. So he walks on the other direction, because now it can be interpreted in the right way.
Or Ruto goes to ask for help
exactly.
from the president.
Ruto pleads not to be arrested, and all So I think the choice of where the lunch was going to happen, and by extension
was very deliberate.
And I think it was occasioned by the fact that Orengo had talked about these things. And
not because of the Twitter gaffe last week?
I don't think so. And if you look at Orengo on an interview the same evening on a TV station, he was fumbling. He out of that's the kind of man we knew. And then he started changing it into, this is possible, it's a provision in the Constitution, we can remove the president, we can remove the Chief Justice, we can remove everyone. So that's a right, and these are things that we need to start interacting with, because they are facts and they are provided for in the Constitution. That is not what he had meant. I think if circumstances were different, I am sure the Orengo that would have been on that particular TV station would have been a totally different Orengo. So to me, it was more about calming everyone, because again, as a president, you cannot talk about inclusivity, you cannot talk about bringing the country together, you know, and then all of a sudden everyone is claiming that they are being isolated, their man is being isolated. And then it goes to another level where now it's about even removing your own deputy president from office through a provision in the Constitution, initiated by people that you are working together through some arrangement called a handshake. So if you don't do anything and you assume to be on that side, then you'll be seen, the whole thing about uniting the country will just go, you know, you will just evaporate. Nobody will ever be able to talk about uniting the country when a colleague that you've invited over for discussion and you are happy on how to run this country, having been the presidential candidates, the top presidential candidate, the first time. I know my brother is here. He'll say there was another election, which is true. There was another election. Having in the first election that was held, Raila and Uhuru had the highest number of votes. So these are the people that came together ultimately, and the assumption is they are working towards ensuring both sides of the divide are working together. So, and Ruto was part of the Uhuru arrangement. Everyone else, Kalonzo and everyone else, was part of the other arrangement. So the handshake should have extended to our court's party and everyone else, and they come with their people. And I think that's where maybe we missed the point, but not to William Ruto, not to Kalonzo, not to these other people. Anybody who was a presidential candidate should have been on board, because they also had supporters out there. Okay. And I've said that to pacify my friend, because I know he's just about to attack me. But bottom line, the lunch was held, to me, purely because of what Orengo had said and indicated was going to do.
Fred, do you think it was, I think more, it's a combination of what began in Namibia?
It is. It's a yes and no. But look, this is not the first time the president was doing this. Remember when they had lunch in Mombasa?
Yes, when Ruto just flew into Mombasa, had lunch and
immediately.
Back,
actually, the media reports that were going out that Ruto was expected to address, or his team was expected to address a press conference. In the next 10 minutes, he was in Mombasa having lunch with the president after a very big fight between the two camps. But to me, I think
that was the time they were talking about Raila coming in to take Ruto's position.
Exactly,
and all.
exactly.
Yes.
The same things. To me, and this is how I look at it, the president is the president of the Republic of Kenya. And he can visit any office anytime. You see, take a, like in this institution, Ken, where you work, the CEO can walk into newsroom and talk to his people. He can go anywhere. He can go to the advertising on second floor. He can be anywhere and talk to anyone. The high school, or the schools for that matter, the headmaster can walk into the DPT's office. So the media, while they're trying to also interpret this thing, they should also not make a big deal out of it. It is only in Kenya where today, when the president, because of
meets
the factors,
the deputy.
Meets the deputy, it is a big news that there's something.
Yes.
But I think it's also a creation of the public, because the public has believed so much in the utterance of the politicians that these people are not friends, they can never work together, they are fighting, and there's somebody who is bringing this fight. I think we now need to stay clear and know that the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president. And the president can consult with him, he can consult the president, and that meeting can happen anywhere. Not necessarily State House. As he said, maybe if it was State House, he was summoned. If it is Harambee House, summoned. But in this case, I also saw there were certain people around him. Governor Sonko was there. I saw Aisha Juma was there. I saw so many people. So to me, it was not a direct meeting between the president and the deputy. But at some point, I also saw pictures where they were just seated together and laughing about it. And these are two gentlemen who we have seen laugh
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult even to read the body language at times. But the most important thing, Ken, is, and I really want to talk about this impeachment.
I'll talk about that. Motion. I'll talk about that. I just wanted to remind you that there was also a lunch at Karen, Ruto's resident.
Where the three of them were involved.
Yes, you remember?
Yes,
yes.
I think that's why I'm convinced this was about temperatures.
Okay.
If you ask me, it was purely about temperatures, and Uhuru wanted to send a message that, number one, whatever it is that is happening out there, I am fighting corruption. I'm not fighting William Samoei Ruto. If there are people associated with him that are corrupt, I'm going for them. It's that simple.
Okay.
But it's not a personal issue here. His people, even himself, can dismiss the DCI that we have appointed as the presidency. You can dismiss the DPP and say all manner of things. But I don't want the fight against corruption to be at the expense of my plans to unify this country.
Okay.
And remember, there was a lot of excitement around that time. On when you say you are impeaching the deputy president, then everyone was very, very excited, especially in certain quarters. And this was a culmination to them of the whole arrangement. Remember, they said very quickly that the idea was to remove him and then replace him with Raila Odinga. And that is really, really huge. And it's believable. If you tell people out there, it's believable.
Believe that it's
because,
far-fetched.
Yeah, it might be far-fetched, but politics is about perception.
Yes.
If you go to the people with that kind of information, that perception, if properly ingrained in people, then they will not believe anything else. Okay. And unless you control it very, very quickly, it will spread like bushfire.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about that. Now that you mentioned that, just before we speak about impeachment, I'm going to cross over to Bernardo Juang shortly. I'd like gentlemen to talk about the fact that Ruto's camp, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks, they attacked the DCI. Remember those attacks at the DCI? And what does also to perception, because you've spoken about perception. But first, let's cross over to Bernardo Juang now. Bernardo is in the county of Migori. And Bernardo, this is about gender responsible budgeting to help ensure that county governments allocate resources based on needs of vulnerable citizens who they take care of, and also to curb cases of gender-based violence. Tell us more about this, Bernardo.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. Of course, we are here in Migori town where all youth, women leaders, and all different drives, they are here. And whatever they are talking about is gender-responsive budgeting, where that will enable the county governments allocate funds based on the needs of the vulnerable citizens. And also that's something that will help in the fight against gender-based violence. Remember, Migori, we are here. We've been seeing cases of gender-based violence, and the women who have been in the front line in the fight against this issue have been denied this opportunity due to lack of funds. And of course, whatever they are talking about here, they want that the government, both national and county government, at least to come up with initiative or ensuring that each and every time that there will be allocation of funds, youth, women, everybody is included. And joining me is Okero. Okero, join me here. You are here in Migori County, and you are talking about this issue of gender-responsive budgeting. What do you mean gender-responsive budgeting, and how is it going to help you?
I think what we're looking at here is trying to strengthen public participation in counties in a way that every single person who is a resident of this county participates. One of the aspects around gender-responsive budgeting is that it recognizes that people are different. It also recognizes that people therefore have different issues. Gender-responsive budgeting requires that counties are able to appreciate the context, and on the basis of that context, when it comes to budgeting, their sector allocations are demand-driven in terms of the needs of the people. Apart from that, it will enable counties to also recognize the need to create separate spaces for people who are considered marginalized, whether it is women and what issues women are affected by, including what you've just said, the issue around GBV, that if we don't get to hear the concerns and the issues, then planning becomes very difficult, and therefore even budgeting becomes a challenge. But apart from creating spaces for women, it also creates spaces for persons with disability. So as the county government is starting to develop their programs, then their programs are driven by the needs and the concerns of the marginalized communities who never find their way into spaces where they're able to talk.
Okay, when you talk about gender-based violence in Migori, we've been seeing cases whereby women are being abused, men are also being battered by the end. Okay, how is this going to help you in terms of when you talk about gender-based violence?
So when it comes to issues around GBV and you're looking at gender-responsive budgeting, then we start looking at the whole spectrum that is needed to be able to manage. So we look at prevention, we look at mitigation, we look at the response, and we look at it within the different sectors. So if you're saying that women are vulnerable because of their financial dependence, then we look at programs that can enable women to come out of that dependency. If women and girls or boys are unable to get facilities in the health center that enable them to progress into accessing justice, then the county government starts designing programs that enable the process to flow. So if you go to a hospital, you find a complete program that ensures that when you walk in and by the time you have left, you have been treated in such a way that when you're being transferred now, for example, to the police or to the judiciary, everything is intact.
Okay, since you've come up with this kind of initiative, do you think, what do you think the government should do, both the national and the county level, at least to help you achieve your goals, so that you be involved in, let's say, participation in when it comes to allocation of funds?
It's actually not my, it's the county government. Every county has got what they call a CIDP. That CIDP becomes their vision, and their vision of trying to improve their economic livelihoods and to improve dignity and to make sure that everybody is able to access. Yes.
Thank you very much, Okero. I'll speak to Jackie. Jackie, you've been, you are the MCA working here, and also we've been seeing cases of gender-based violence. Public gender-responsive allocation of funds here. How is it going to help you?
Thank you so much, Bernard. And what I can say is that there's nothing that can happen without funds. Everything currently is about funds. We have so many cases. Lately, we've seen so many of them, including suicide. That is under gender. We've seen women being beaten, men being beaten. That is under gender. we've seen violence, we've seen FGM. This is Migori County. You know what FGM is. When we are talking about Korea, when we go to Migori, you've seen many girls, children leaving school. That is, if you narrow it down, it goes under sexual gender-based violence. We cannot move without funds. And that is why we have this initiative today. To ensure that we have funds, we have to move. Whether you talk about educating the society, you need funds. And that is where we are here today. We need the community to tell us what they think. We need the county assembly to say what they think about it. Because when we talk about Migori County per se, we don't have that ministry of gender standing alone. We have gender, sports, education, culture mixed in one docket. So I was advocating that gender stands alone. This is how we are going to improve. And we are also improving. Yesterday we were just doing public participation on sexual gender-based violence policy, where we wanted that gender stands alone. We want to mainstream it in the CIDP, which was not there before, because we've been doing so much, but budgeting cannot, because of corruption. We just don't want to fix money where we have not implemented, where we have not even planned anything. That is why we are here today, to see how we can allocate money for this issue of gender mainstreaming in terms of budgeting, in terms of CIDP and everything coming up.
Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Jackie. Okay, Ken, we were speaking to some of the participants here and leaders. They are talking about the gender-responsive budgeting. They are saying this is going to help them curb cases of gender-based violence in this region, and also this is going to make sure that the vulnerable citizens in this country and also in the country will enjoy the benefits of devolution. And remember, we'll be here, we'll be talking to them, and we'll be also packaging that story for our subsequent bulletins, Ken.
Thanks, Bernard. Great conversation in County 044. And obviously, this is a conversation that needs to be followed in all the counties. How to make this benefit to everyone, especially those who are not privileged in the society. Bernard reporting from Migori. Live report from Migori. Let's come back to the studio now, because I am sure we'll be getting to the vetting in any time from now of Hillary Mutyambe. And there's also a conversation that needs to be heard. They're vetting the new police commissioner, IG coming in. And there's a lot of things in the police department that we have not seen in the previous, from Kimayo to Boynet and all those things. But it's a conversation we're not having now. And also, we are also on standby for Kenya School of Government, where the Interior Cabinet Secretary is set to launch the new curriculum, training for the police officers. But in studio, we're discussing the politics of the day. And let's talk about the fact, I really like to talk about the impeachment lastly. Yes. So let's talk about the fact that perception is important. Yes. And we saw what happened the other day when Ruto's camp really attacked the DCI. Just briefly, because I see the vetting of Mutyambe is also on, so we'd like to go there.
Yes.
Yes.
That was unfortunate. Because first and foremost, it was led by the deputy president himself. And I think that was unfortunate. I have never seen him go to that level. If it was anybody else, the Oscar Sudis and everyone else, then we can comfortably live with that. But when the deputy president himself, whom by extension is the appointing authority, because he's in the presidency, talks about the DCI, and importantly talks about the functions of the DCI in a manner that looks totally misinformed, because the DCI is the IG, is under the Inspector General of Police, and creates a lot of confusion about the work of the EACC in terms of preempting and the work of the DCI. I think that was rather unfortunate. But it tells us, and it tells everyone else, there are a lot of interest around the issues that are being investigated right now. And I think everyone is very, very keen to see who are these individuals that are so panicky about matters, the dams. Because it had, even the narrative changed, that the argument here is this is being investigated so that money that was meant for the dams can be diverted elsewhere. Yet the investigations are there in the first instance because the money is not there. So I think that's rather unfortunate, and it should not have happened. Luckily, I think the DCI is a strong person. He has withstood that, and he still continues, because as we speak, like we agreed earlier, the DCI has sent people on the same issue, and there is a likelihood that arrest and subsequent arraigning in court should be happening shortly after this.
Okay. Just briefly, Fred, that attack is something that has been debated, but I just want your comments on this.
I think it was unnecessary because that was a direct attack to the same government. So it was unnecessary. In fact, it goes against the conduct of a state officer, whether it was a member of parliament, whether it was a deputy president, it was unnecessary. But I think also the issue at hand is, could there be something that the attackers of DCI know that the public don't know, that they were speaking with such confidence? If that information is out there, then the public should know. But then we would want to encourage the DCI to stop at nothing. If they are convinced and they have got facts and evidence that there's money that was misappropriated, especially in the dams, then let them bring these people forth to book so that this matter can be cleared. And politicians should tone down. I've seen some of them have toned down, but the few that are still holding press conferences around Parliament should tone down and go back to the counties and ensure that they don't steal the CDF money and work for the people. And then this matter, let it rest with the DCI and ODPP. And then finally, if it gets its way into court, let the court handle it. All
right. Let's cross over briefly to the Kenya School of Government, where the DCI himself, George Kinoti, is speaking. Then we'll come back to this conversation.
It is not a matter of hearing DCI. DCI is part and parcel of the national police. And that's why I'm calling my brothers and sisters outside there. Please take it as your responsibility. When we're outside there, know today is your function and objective. Let us respond to our duty that we have been given. And in the subsequent trainings and all that is one of the modules we shall be emphasizing on. In as much as we are saying, even if it could start all the way from the primary level to second and other tertiary institutions, so that we understand what is this responsibility we have been given. So when we are sensitizing members of the public, it is not that we really we like it so much, pursuing people because of this and that. It will be part of an advocacy, sensitization, that in the event of this and that, it's one of the crimes against ourselves, we, members of the public, and our country, Kenya. So it needs to be very clear to us, it's our responsibility, and all of us collectively, so that when we're outside there, people really understand our role and our responsibility. So with these few remarks is to say thank you very much for the entire team, which has really labored so much to come up with this. Today we are celebrating you, and we are saying now the day is matter of now execution, which is remaining for us. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
May I call upon the DIG Administration Police Service to give his remarks, Mr. Nurgab.
Thank you, Mr. Wino. Our chief guest today, Mr. Duko, who is PAS in the Ministry of Interior.
Right, that was George Kinoti speaking there at the forum, the launch of the new police curriculum. We're waiting for Dr. Fred Matiang'i. We'll be getting back there, but let me take that opportunity to come back and talk about impeachment. I know it's been said it's impossible. Yes, it's not, they can't even raise the numbers in Parliament, but the fact that it can even be brought to the public by a person of the caliber of James Orengo.
Yes, yeah. And remember, by the way, if you look at the Constitution, it's very clear. Orengo cannot institute proceedings for the removal of the deputy president, or indeed the president, because he's a member of the Senate. And that can only start at the National Assembly. If it's a question of mental incapacitation or physical incapacitation, it starts and ends at the National Assembly. So Orengo features nowhere. If it's a question of removing him for gross misconduct, like he alluded to, and all those manner of things, it has to start at the National Assembly again. And then it's only after it gets a threshold of a third and that it goes to the Senate for them to set up the committee to investigate and ultimately vote on the removal.
So it cannot start
So it cannot even start there. So even the fact that he was the one who was saying it, instead of using one of the members of the National Assembly from his friends, then that is telling. But importantly, this is the wrong time. I don't think the deputy president has done anything toward other than maybe people around him panicking over matters investigation on corruption. And then I think it was disappointing for Orengo to see the president, whom he's accusing this gentleman of being insubordinative of, having lunch and chatting away, you know, and he forgets.
Just about 3 days later.
He forgets, and I think that is where he went wrong. He forgets that Raila at some point and Uhuru could not see eye to eye, especially through the lieutenants. They were saying all manner of things, and then out of nowhere, we find these guys having, you know, talking and then telling us they have 9 issues that they need us to look into, and we settled there. We talked about a handshake. I think politicians must learn to stick to their lanes. Let's not get overexcited. Remember, at the end of the day, Orengo is a politician. There is ambition for 2022 and beyond, and you expect him at any one opportunity he gets to poke in something and do something. Unfortunately, it will always be seen as if he's holding brief for Raila. Whether that is true or not is a totally different issue. So I think it's good to be careful how we go about this thing, so that in my language there is something we say, unaweza kumwaga kama unatoa kutoka hiki unaweka kwa ile kingine.
Okay.
Yes.
Fred.
I've always said that that impeachment plan is dead on arrival. Dead on arrival on the facts that he has given candidly. But look, where was this first made? These utterances were made in Uganda in a rally of a by-election. And it was meant to excite the public and the supporters of the candidate of that region or of that constituency. So to me, it is a non-issue. And by the way, if you look at the requirements to impeach the deputy president, first of all, let's look at it this way. Impeachment is like a trial. Where is the charge sheet? What are you charging the deputy president of? And again, I'll say this is a big disclaimer. I'm not holding brief for him. But it is a fact that it will require any member of parliament moving that motion, first of all, to get the support of a third endorsements. That is 177 members. They have failed to do that in the gender bill. They will not manage in this one. Number 2, when that motion finally moves, because the initiation starts from the National Assembly and then move to the Senate. In the Senate, there must be a special committee. This 11-member special committee must substantiate that indeed that charge sheet, that charge sheet has got something that can validate the reasons why we must now remove the deputy president from office. It is not going to happen. It won't happen. Senator James Orengo, as a senator, cannot move that motion. It is not his role. Senator James Orengo's role in Article 96 is to oversight the county government. Yes. The member of parliament is the one who should do that thing. And that's why I am convinced that Senator James Orengo used this
playing by the public gallery.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, a good senator and a senior counsel, a lawyer that we respect, cannot go on a national TV and tell Kenyans what he knows very well is not right. And I think he should withdraw that and apologize to the public. And if they have any plans to impeach anyone, let them start by impeaching the cabinet secretaries who have been taken to court, PSs who have been taken to court, the cabinet secretaries who have been taken to DCI, all those people. That is the start of impeachment. Yes. The day the deputy president is arraigned in court or convicted, then they can now start talking about impeachment. But for now, it is an issue that is dead on arrival. It won't happen. It can't happen.
In a country that people don't take responsibility, I mean, it can be mentioned 101 times. No one cares. You know, no responsibility. People don't take responsibility for anything.
They don't. And I think that's why we are saying, if you are a member of the head of the executive, be it the president or the governor, you have a responsibility first and foremost to appoint the right people. And in the event along the way you realize this was not the right person, you have the power, the legal power to remove those people without consulting anyone. If it's a CS or a CEC member for county for that matter, you can remove that person very comfortably unless it's a deputy president or a deputy governor. So it is wrong for us to be here mark timing on the same spot when we can be able to put these CSs on the side, let them go home, and then we get other people to do the same. And even for counties, let us have, sometimes you have to support what happens with some countries that remove CEC members, replace them with good ones.
All right. Yes. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you very much. Fred Okango and Charles Munye, always a pleasure having you.
Thank you too.
It's time now to move to Parliament now, the vetting of Hilary Mutyambai. This is someone very few people know him. So a lot of people are expecting to see what's happening in Parliament. Let's take you live to Parliament.
I
think the nominee is out of order because he's reading, giving us his background. I think what he's telling us is not irrelevant to this.
I think you're overruled because it is we who have asked him verbally or reading. I think it is quite in order. So, but I think enough. We have said enough, and we have it in writing. Stop there now. Thank you very much. Well done.
We thank you. I think you have told us most of the early life. We want to hear you tell us, actually, in your career service as an officer. That's where we are looking. So we'll give you some other minutes. Maybe you can do that.
Point of order, Chair.
Yeah.
Let it be given enough time.
Very good. Very good. Hilary, you can continue because your family life and working life, it is what has made you to be successful in your career. So just proceed.
Chair, I think it will be best if we allow the nominee to explain, rather than us always interjecting, because it might actually affect him and he might not be confident enough later to explain himself. So let's just let it flow rather than keep on interrupting. Thank you.
Yeah, point well taken. You can proceed until you finish your presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Co-Chairs and members of both committees. I have served in the security sector for 27 years, and in order to get to know me better, please allow me to give you a little background about myself. My desire to serve within the law enforcement can be traced from my childhood and the experience I underwent. I was born in 1964 in Machakos, and my late father worked as an electrician at the East African Pole and Cement Company in Athi River. And my mother was a teacher. I am blessed to have her watching me this morning as I want to thank her for the unconditional love she continues to show me. I'm the firstborn in a family of 4, which was later increased when my father married my stepmother. Due to various circumstances beyond my knowledge, my father took me to the village to be raised by my grandfather, who was a man of unparalleled wisdom, respected by many, and his man of dealing with the family members, especially his own children, taught me the importance of justice and fairness in maintaining harmony and coexistence. Being raised by persons from 2 different generations was an interesting experience, and I learned early to be a diplomat who could shuttle between all parties and seek agreements on issues. This quality will later serve me well when I worked as a diplomat at the Kenya High Commission in Uganda. My grandfather was not only wise, but he also instilled the values of integrity, hard work, selflessness, values which have continued to guide me in my life. Allow me to mention and thank some other key influences in my life: Father O'Toole, Father McMahon, priests who encouraged me greatly during my schooling in the seminary. I began by schooling at the St. Paul Primary School in Athi River and Kirangaini Primary School, Masi in Machakos, and proceeded to Paul 6 Junior Seminary for my O level, and therefore Kericho High School for my A level. In 1987, I made my family proud by becoming the first person from my village to be admitted in the University of Nairobi. Upon graduation in 1990, with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, I served as a teacher for a year before joining then the Kenya Police Force as a constable in 1991. Honorable co-chairs and members, my desire to join then police force was a result of the cases of insecurity I had witnessed and my burning desire for justice for all, which I felt would be best served within the police. I continued my service in the police force and rose through the ranks, I was promoted to Inspector of Police in 1993, Chief Inspector of Police in 1995, and Superintendent of Police in 1998. In 1999, I transited to the intelligence, where I rose through the ranks to my current position as a Deputy Director in charge of counter-terrorism. Honorable members, I make mention of my career as a policeman because these experiences shaped my understanding of what the police constable on the beat and the commander at the station go through. But more fundamentally, it illuminated my understanding of the opportunities and gaps that exist and which will be an asset should this House confirm me. Honorable Co-Chair and members, I'm aware the highest objective of the National Police Service as enshrined in the Constitution, if you allow me to quote, is to strive for the highest standards of professionalism and discipline among its members, prevent corruption, and promote and practice transparency and accountability, comply with constitutional standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms, train staff to the highest possible standards of competence and integrity, and to respect human rights and fundamental freedoms and dignity, and foster and promote relationship with a broader society. These noble objectives are reflected in the hopes of many citizens of all walks of life who have sent me messages of goodwill and offered wise words of counsel. Should this joint committee confirm me, I pledge that I will always remember to uphold these constitutional ideals as I serve as the Inspector General. Over the past 27 years, honorable members, I have served this country in various capacities within the security sector, an honor and privilege that accorded me the administrative and operational insights of which I believe will be useful in the office of the Inspector General of the National Police Service. My most recent professional arena of the service within the National Intelligence Service has given me the vantage point to see the existing security threats our nation faces, and should you confirm me, I recognize that my role will be greatly broadened from not only offering advisory to the multi-agency stakeholders, but to enforcement of the law in a fair and impartial manner. I have seen what failure to adherence to the law can lead to, and if fortunate to be confirmed by this joint committee, I want to affirm that the National Police Service, under my leadership, must always, and Honorable Co-Chair, I will repeat, always be faithful to the rule of law. And I want to make it very clear that I am deeply committed to the rule of law, especially on human rights, as enshrined in the Constitution, and every decision shall be guided by these fundamental commitments. My transition to the intelligence community and my subsequent service within various operational and administrative positions, and my close working relations with the multi-agency stakeholders has given me a broader understanding of our security sector. This experience has given me a deep understanding of the threats we currently face, among them organized crime, terrorism, corruption, transnational crimes, cattle rustling, and criminal gangs. Honorable members, if this joint committee confirm me as the Inspector General, I will bring with me the knowledge and the experiences needed to spearhead the National Police Service in mitigating these threats. I have a very specific set of key issues. I was to focus on that touches on the administrative and operational component of the National Police Service. Firstly, I must congratulate my predecessor for ably leading the National Police Service transformation journey. Under his leadership, the team has set in motion the process of reforms. I'm aware many of the reforms plans have been carried out, including harmonization and integration of the Kenya Police Service and the Administration Police Service under one command structure right from the region, counties, and sub-counties. I will offer continuity of the reforms if this joint committee confirm me of up to the police ward station level, implementation of the National Police Service Information Management System, which digitizes the occurrence book and the case file management system. Secondly, under the theme of enhancing police service delivery at the grassroots, I will be keen to transform each police station into a center of delivery for policing services. I will call for your participation, honorable members, in building of new police stations and innovating the old police station to meet modern policing standards and improve the working condition of our officers. I will endeavor to establish a National Police Academy to instill responsible leadership within cadets of the National Police Service as envisaged in the reforms. I will enhance civil police relations and adapt international best practices. I also want to focus on the welfare of the men and women serving the police service by making sure that the National Police Service Referral Hospital is constructed and operational. I intend to engage with the Salaries and the Remunerations Commission on the issue of house allowance, and in the view of the tough and sometimes traumatic nature of police work, I want to expand the psychosocial support department and decentralize it to all the regions. I would want to enhance the police chaplaincy services, last but not least, to support the education efforts of the children of police officers. I will engage with the Commission and other stakeholders to increase and improve the school academies within the National Police Service. My experience in the multi-agency approach in the war against terror has proved that multi-agency collaboration is the way to go in managing emerging security threats. If this joint committee confirms my nomination on board, relevant government agencies, society, members of the public, and the leaders. Thirdly, we are aware that corruption threatens the very existence of our society, and we must all join together in the fight against corruption. On my part, I intend to do this by initiating a system that enhances accountability in a non-partisan and highly responsive manner. I will work closely with relevant government agencies and stakeholders to energy in the war against. Of critical stakeholders within outside justice system, which will be crucial as I lead the committee. My understanding of the diversity of Kenyans gained from deployments in different regions, the knowledge on security policy issues gained during my postgraduate studies in
nominee for the position of Inspector General, the vetting
process, and I look forward to having dialogue this morning. I look forward to answering your questions, not just today, but should this committee so confirm me in the months and years ahead as we work together to ensure the
Right, we are having trouble with our internet connection as expected. There's a lot of people in there, so We will try and get back to Parliament because that vetting of the nominee for the position of Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambe, is before the Joint Committee of the National Assembly, and he was presenting his case and giving the background that informs his role as the police. Let's try and go back and say if this time we'll manage to get something from Parliament.
Corruption straight from the lower ladder up to the top. Maybe Haji, if you have something to ask.
You also say that you are going to uphold rule of law and also ensure that there's human rights, you take care of human rights. You are aware of hue and cry in Kenya about extrajudicial killing, and mainly fingers are pointed at the police. What are you intending to do to curb that? Thank you.
We, honorable members and honorable senators, maybe we'll ask four questions, and also feel free to maybe raise a concern to Hilary. That is the order we are going to take. So I see many hands, and I'll start with Honorable Kaunya, then we come to Senator, and then we come to Digmas. The first four, we go to Tekla, then we take another note. We take four. So 4 questions. Proceed.
Do you have a notebook where you are taking down, eh? Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairs. Mr. Hilary Nzioki Mutyambe, I want to first congratulate you for having been nominated, and I want to ask 2 issues. One is a clarification. You did indicate that you are born in 1964 in Machakos, correct? But I have a birth certificate number 739042, which you attached, and it reads you are born in Ngara Estate. We will need to clarify whether the Ngara Estate, perhaps there's another in Machakos. That's for clarification. My second question or issue, you are coming in, if confirmed, to the police service at a critical time when we are talking of transformation of the police service to give service delivery to the wananchi. There are issues that you are going to face. Some of the key drawbacks that have been there is the existence of tensions between the departments within the police. Tensions between, say, the administration police, the Kenya police, tensions also between the police and the local administration. As you are aware, based on the background of administration police, they were assisting the local administration in enforcing their functions or mandates. There are also issues to do with the tensions between organizations that are citizen-oriented, which are meant to really help police, like the issue of community policing. We have a community policing arrangement which is police controlled. There is one called Nyumba Kumi, which is citizen-based. Then we have peace committees. And finally, you have also areas where there are great concerns in terms of promotions and other aspects. Promotions, I would want to give you an example that there are promotions which are not based on merit or in a particular criteria that is set out. Like recent, we have chief inspectors to the rank of assistant superintendent. For over 2-3 months, they finish the course, they are not promoted. We have also differences in departments on the promotions. So I want to ask one question. When you come in, 3 steps you would take to ensure there's that harmony in command and control, and there's harmony that will ensure what you have called transformation of police stations as centers of service delivery. Thank you.
Please, when we are putting up our question, let's make it as short as possible so all the honorable members can get an opportunity to ask. Judith.
Thank you, Chair, and I congratulate both chairs, and I take this time to congratulate Bwana Hillary, because for you to come up to this level where we are now vetting, you must have been trusted by the appointing authority or nominating authority. And I want to have the same trust. I would want to really trust you, because we have a lot of security issues in this country. And the IG of the Republic of Kenya is a very important person for this nation to move forward. And I'm happy that you've talked about the rule of law. We have seen a lot of aimless and senseless killings in this country. I give an example of Baby Pendo, a good example that we have in this country. To this date, we have not even known who the killers are. No prosecution, nothing. And we want to believe that we are coming in with a new system in this republic, and that you will bring in new life that we want to see for this republic. What will you do? Because you say you're going to uphold the rule of law. What is this that is going to be different in you? And I have heard you in your background that you've been in the system. You have come up through the ranks. But you've been in this system that we are accusing of these senseless killings. We are accusing of not even prosecuting the cases that are there. What new blood are you going to bring in, because you've been in this system? Secondly, we feel so bad as Kenyans to see the disobedience of court orders. In this republic, we have seen blatant disobedience of court orders by the security apparatus. And I give an example of even the cases of Miguna, where we had a total of almost 7 court orders disobeyed. And the systems were doing hide and seek, even with the justice system. Will you be able to uphold the rule of law, irrespective of who will give what, irrespective of who will give orders to disobey court orders? Then finally, on security issues, I have seen that one of your mandates is on implementation of policies. Suppose they are not favorable policies. Will you stand for the people of Kenya as against the systems that try to bring them down? I want to hear from you.
Idmas.
Thank you, Chair. I have a very brief questions. There are 2. One, under the current new constitution, we no longer have the National Police Force. We have police service. So what are you going to do to change the culture of police who still behaves as if they are members of the National Police Force, where they intimidate people that they are supposed to serve? You've seen everywhere. Even a person who has a genuine matter to report to a police station, he fears because you are going to report the matter to the police station, but the way you are handled in a manner that even scares you away. When you see a police officer, people run away because of the police culture where they think they are still the National Police Service. So what is it they are going to do? Because we have seen a number of reforms being done, including police uniforms, but I don't think if that has able to improve the police culture. Question number 2. We have the National Police Service Commission, which when you read on paper that they are supposed to be doing what we call police recruitment, police promotion, but in practically, the National Police Service itself is the one that does all these kind of things. So I want your comment in terms of, will you support a proposal that we take away the functions of promotion and recruitment to the National Police Service Commission? If that proposal comes, are you going to support it? Or what is the rationale behind the National Police Service doing all their things and reducing the National Police Service Commission into cracks just to sign letters and endorse whatever the National Police Service has done itself? Thank you.
Let's have the last one from Tekla.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have said you are an advocate for justice and fairness. In the country, there is a lot of rape, gender violence, and the victims are not getting, are not being assisted, even if the culprits are known. What are you going to do to assist the women of Kenya, to assist the children who are crying? I know quite a number of cases, current cases. School-going children are being raped. Some of them are raped by victims who are HIV positive. What are you going to do so that the members of parliament, the women, are not crying day and night? Question number 2. You have talked about the welfare of police officers. We know it is on the right track. The house allowance issue is on. Engagement of psychologists is on. And you have said you are going to roll it down up to the counties. What additional things are you going to institute so that you improve the welfare of police? We know quite a number of them are killing their wives, their children, or themselves. Tell us what you are going to do. Lastly, you have talked on the issue of house allowance. We know the police are going to live with civilians. We know you have titles, sir, madam, and what have you. But in that place, it will not happen. How are you going to enhance the civil relationship between the police and the local communities? Thank you.
You have 6 questions from 6 members. Maybe you can proceed and answer those ones before we take another one.
It may be questions which are similar. You just answer one.
Thank you, Co-Chair and honorable members. I'd like to start with the first question. Corruption within police, which stems from the juniors up to the highest cadre. What if this house, this committee approves my nomination, what will I do? And this is what I have in my strategy to address the issue touching corruption within the police. I would like to be a bit more practical rather than being theoretical, because I know many have come before me, they have found corruption within police, and they have left. I'm the 3rd Inspector General if this committee allows to affirm my nomination. I want to make a difference, honorable members. I will start leading the National Police Service with my own example, upholding integrity and non-compromisable. If I am not able to stand with that, my juniors will not take it serious. that is real, that the war against corruption is life. I intend not to victimize anybody for the past. My predecessors, they were there. I'll take the job if this committee affirms me afresh from the day one. I'll talk to the officers and will tell them my position. I'll treat each and every police officer as a good officer. As you are aware, Inspector General cannot work alone. I need the police officers. But I need to work with a good police officer. After we agree, our modus of operandi, the way I want us to work, is from the clean plate. I will deploy my process to identify the guys who are a problem, the officers who are behind this problem. I may not go to the details, but I'm very sure I will be able to know who is the good officer and who is the bad officer. I will direct my action to the person who is on the wrong. And I remind my honorable members, I'll work within the law. I'll be guided by the Constitution in all my action I'll be undertaking. I'm not compromisable. I have a very high degree of integrity, and I believe this is what has brought me up to this position. The second question is the rule of law, human rights violation, and extrajudicial killing by police officers. I have this in mind. I'm aware, Honorable Co-Chair and Honorable members, police has been accused across many forums of extrajudicial killings, violation of human rights, and I'm coming on board to lead the same National Police Service with the expectation to meet the expectations of Kenyans, that I will be leading a clean force with a reputation, and not only reputation, with a positive reputation. I will be guided, if this House and committee allows me to take this job, again and once again by the Constitution. The laws and the Constitution is very clear on the way and the time and circumstances when a police officer is justifiable to use a gun. If that does not fall within that box, nobody in the National Police Service this committee will allow me to lead is above the law. The law will take its course. I will spearhead the law in terms of implementation, operationalization, to set a clean record and lead a clean force, a clean surface. Number 3, I would like Honorable Member to clarify an issue, Co-Chair, which has been raised from my documentation, that I was born in Machakos. My mom was living in Machakos, but during the time of birth, he came up because my dad was working at River and he delivered in Pumwani. That's how I was born, but I was brought up in Machakos. The documentations, because I had to pick them from, to pick my documentations from the hospital. That's how they are indicated in that document. With your permission, Co-Chair, I proceed with the next question. Transformation to service delivery and the drawbacks which has been highlighted within the police service, including the differences and tensions between the Administration Police Service and the Kenya Police Service. Between the National Police Service and administration departments. between the Nyumba Kumi, the police, and the members of public. I'm aware, co-chair and the members of this committee, that a lot has been carried out in the reforms, touching on issues of resolving the duplicity of work within the National Police Service, which constitute the two services. And one of the objectives, I'm aware, was to address these differences. Naturally, co-chair and honorable members, changes are always not received positively by everybody within an organization. Will agree with me, honorable members? The losers will always be complaining. The winners will always be happy. They will not complain. I believe this is the situation. I'm joining the National Police Service. If this committee affirm my nomination, that there were losers in the exercise of streamlining the command structure in the reforms, and there must be the same team which are making the noise. I will apply, if this committee affirm my nomination, I will apply change management to bring everybody on board. I believe I'm capable to do this. I've gone through the same process. When you moved from a DSI in 1999 to National Security Intelligence Service, most of officers were not happy because there were those who benefited and those who lost. I'll apply change management to bring the police together. The difference between other parties, including the administration, the community, I will embrace the multi-agency approach, concept, bringing all the relevant government agencies working together. I would like to inform this committee, with your permission, co-chair and honorable members, I was privileged to form part of the pioneers of implementing this stakeholder, the multi-agency stakeholder initiative when I was based in Coast, including the command centers. It works and it has worked. I will be very much particular to ensure the success across the country. I believe when I take this approach, I will bring all the stakeholders under one leadership within the police, members of public and the police, community policing and Nyumba Kumi. Together, we work for common goal for this country of providing security, but not conflicting in terms of our interests. With your permission, co-chair, I will proceed to number 5, killing by police, no prosecution. What will I do to bring this one to stop? If this committee approves my nomination, once again, I take this position of Inspector General. I will rule this National Police Service by the rule of law, by guidance by the Constitution, to ensure any officer responsible for his misconduct. And I will be informed by the institutions and apparatus within the service. I'm aware we have internal affairs unit, police, which investigate complaints from the members of public against police, complaints from police against police. Will be able to get the truth about the misdeed by the police officers. I will also work closely with institutions, authority like IPOA, the Department of Public Prosecution, to bring harmony and sanity within the police. Number 6, with your permission, co-chair, is disobedience by senior officers disobeying court orders. What will I do to ensure that comes to an end? Your Honor. If once again you allow me to take this job, co-chair and honorable members, according to the National Police Service Act of 2001, the Constitution spells it very clear. The office of Inspector General enjoys independence of command without influence from outside. And where there is an influence, it's very clear within the Constitution and the Act, and it will be in writing. The sole administration and operation, supervision of police work falls under the Inspector General of National Police Service. This empowers the Inspector General, honorable members, to take fair and non-influenced decision to act on those matters there is a breakage of law. And exactly will you do that, Your Honor? With your permission, I'll proceed, co-chair, to question number 8. The National Police Service and National Police Service Commission, conflict of interest. Co-chair and honorable members, I have gone through the law, books guiding the Inspector General course of duties and functions, and the institutions working with the National Police Service, and through the literature, I've not seen any conflict of duties between these institutions. And more so, the Commission, National Police Commission, and the National Police Service, duties are very clear. There's no gray area, no conflict. The main duties of the Commission is purely matters of human resource of the police service. The main duties of Inspector General is mainly administration and operation supervision of the police service. Where there are some cross-cutting issues, because it's very clear we have to work together. Inspector General is a member of the Commission, will engage. If this committee allows me to be appointed, I will engage the Commission. There are areas which are not effective. You agree with me, co-chair and honorable members, where maybe the Commission may require to delegate just little and slight powers to the Inspector General. The reasons why the Inspector General is a member of the Commission is to iron out those areas with the Commission. I would like to go co-chair, with your permission, to question number 9. Issues of gender and gender violence within the police. With your permission, co-chair and honorable members, if you allow me to take this job of Inspector General, I will do the following. And from my background checking, I'm aware that gender issues